Could the Great Pyramid of Giza be hiding something the world was never meant to see? Beneath the shimmering sands of Egypt, where the desert winds whisper secrets of a forgotten age, the earth hums with a quiet mystery. For centuries, explorers, mystics, and scholars have walked these golden plains, staring up at the monumental perfection of the Great Pyramid, a structure so mathematically precise that even modern engineers marvel at its symmetry. But what if its true wonder doesn't lie in what we see above the sand, but in what sleeps beneath it? Have you ever wondered what lies in the shadows beneath the pyramid, beyond the tourist paths, beyond the sealed stone blocks that no light has touched in thousands of years? Recent radar scans and satellite imaging have revealed something astonishing. Vast, unexplored voids hidden deep within the limestone bedrock, hollow spaces that defy simple explanation. These are not random fractures or natural caves. They appear geometric, deliberate, as if designed to hide something, or perhaps to protect it. Imagine standing before the Great Pyramid at dawn, the desert still cool, the horizon painted in pale gold. As the first light strikes the ancient stones, you feel it, a resonance, a hum in the air that seems almost alive. Beneath your feet, the ground itself feels charged, as if remembering something. Thousands of years ago, this place was the epicenter of an unimaginable knowledge, one that may not have originated entirely on Earth as we know it. Mainstream archaeology tells us that the pyramid was built around 2560 BCE as a tomb for Pharaoh Khufu. Yet, despite over 2 centuries of excavation, no burial has ever been found within. No mummy, no funerary inscriptions, no treasures, only empty chambers and silent corridors leading deeper into mystery. So if it wasn't a tomb, what was it? Ancient texts like the Inventory Stela speak of the Sphinx and the pyramids as already standing in the time of Khufu, relics from a much older era. The Greek historian Herodotus described labyrinthine tunnels beneath Giza, so vast and intricate that they dwarfed the pyramids above. Even the Arab chronicler Al-Makrizi wrote of secret passages filled with metallic guardians and sealed chambers containing knowledge of the stars. For centuries these accounts were dismissed as myth. Yet now, with modern technology, ground-penetrating radar, muon tomography, and LiDAR scanning, we're beginning to see the invisible. Beneath the Pyramid of Khufu lies not a single structure, but an entire subterranean network, shafts, corridors, and vast cavities buried in the bedrock. Scientists call one of them the Big Void, an immense space discovered in 2017, large enough to house an entire airplane. It sits directly above the Grand Gallery, untouched since antiquity. No one knows its purpose. Was it a hidden chamber for rituals? A counterweight space for construction? Or, as some independent researchers suggest, part of an ancient energy system, designed to harness vibrational resonance through the pyramid's geometry and material composition? Every new scan raises more questions than it answers. Metallic anomalies have been detected, their signatures unlike anything naturally occurring in the limestone. Some theories propose the existence of lost machinery, remnants of a civilization with scientific understanding far beyond its supposed time. Others believe these voids might contain records, crystalline data vaults preserving the knowledge of a forgotten epoch. And yet, Egypt keeps its deepest secrets close. Many of these discoveries remain unpublished, restricted to government-approved teams. Independent explorers who claim to find evidence of older construction layers, cut with precision tools or aligned to ancient star maps, are quickly silenced or discredited. But the sands cannot hide the truth forever. As we descend into this story, we'll travel beyond what textbooks allow, through ancient myths of the hidden chambers of Thoth, through radar imaging that sees beneath stone, and through the haunting idea that humanity's origins may be far older than we've dared to imagine. Because sometimes, the past isn't buried, it's waiting. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine Egypt, not as a desert, but as a sea of green. 10,000 years ago, long before Khufu and the hieroglyphs, before dynasties and kings, this land was alive with rivers and rain. The Sahara, now silent and golden, was once fertile, covered with lakes, forests and grasslands stretching farther than the eye could see. Herds of gazelle moved across wide plains, and human settlements dotted the riverbanks of what would one day be the Nile. It is here in this forgotten age that our story truly begins, Archaeologists call it the pre-dynastic period, but the deeper we dig, the more it seems to whisper of something that doesn't fit neatly into history. Evidence found in places like Nabta Playa, far to the south of Giza, reveals a civilization organizing itself around the stars as early as 7000 BCE, thousands of years before the first pyramid stone was laid. Circular megaliths and stone alignments mark the solstices with uncanny precision. Who built them? How did desert tribes master such astronomical knowledge? The truth is, we don't know. Mainstream archaeology suggests these early people were pastoral nomads, but others, like astrophysicist Thomas Brophy and researcher Robert Bovell, argue that Nabta Playa's design mirrors the constellation Orion as it appeared in 6400 BCE. The same pattern, of course, found later in the layout of the three pyramids of Giza. Coincidence or continuity? Now imagine the world changing. Around 5000 BCE, the rains begin to fade. The lush Sahara slowly dies, and its people are forced to migrate eastward, toward the life-giving Nile. They bring with them memories of a lost paradise, and perhaps knowledge of something far greater. A system of celestial measurement, sacred geometry, and technological mastery passed down from an earlier age. Some call it Atlantis, others the Zep Tepi, the first time when gods walked among men. Egyptian priests told the Greek philosopher Solon that before the rise of the known kingdoms, there existed a civilization destroyed by flood and fire, but whose survivors came to the Nile Valley and began again. These legends, preserved by Plato and echoed in ancient hymns, may be faint echoes of a real event, a global cataclysm that erased an entire chapter of human history. And perhaps it was these survivors who became the followers of Horus, the mysterious pre-dynastic elite said to have raised the mounds of the gods, an ancient term scholars still struggle to explain. Could these mounds refer to the earliest prototypes of the pyramids themselves? Sacred markers built atop older ruins, preserving the memory of a world long lost? Archaeologists digging at Abydos and Saqqara have found evidence of structures older than any pharaonic tombs. Massive stone blocks cut with laser-like precision, bearing no inscriptions. Tools capable of shaping such hard granite with surgical accuracy shouldn't have existed in that era. Yet the stones are real. They lie buried beneath dynastic layers, mute witnesses to an age that shouldn't be possible. If we could peel back the layers of sand and time, we might see a different Egypt, one not of kings and slaves, but of scientists, astronomers, and builders who understood the hidden forces of the earth. They aligned their monuments to magnetic fields, to the courses of stars, to the flow of water beneath the ground. Their geometry wasn't merely symbolic, it was functional, resonant, alive. The Nile itself, winding like a serpent through the desert, mirrored the Milky Way in the heavens. The pyramids stood as nodes in a vast energy network, each structure connected by design, both above and below the ground. Could it be that the pyramids we see today are only the surface of something much larger, the visible tips of an ancient system buried beneath millennia of dust? As satellite imaging and subsurface radar pierce deeper into the Giza Plateau, they reveal chambers and tunnels extending far beyond known excavation maps. Corridors carved into bedrock with an artistry that seems to predate dynastic Egypt by centuries, perhaps millennia. If the builders of Giza inherited this land from a forgotten civilization, what else did they inherit? And what exactly were they trying to preserve? Because when you strip away the sand, you don't just uncover stones, you uncover memory. And memory, once awakened, refuses to stay buried. The Great Pyramid rises above the desert like a mountain of light, yet beneath its silent weight, the earth is hollow with secrets. For centuries, people have gazed upon its perfect angles and wondered what lies within. But few realize that the true mystery doesn't rest in its visible chambers. It slumbers below, in tunnels that twist through the limestone like veins of stone. Imagine standing before the pyramid in the cool hush of dawn. The tourists are gone, the air is still, and at your feet, just beyond the roped boundaries, small fissures and ancient shafts descend into darkness, narrow enough for only one person to crawl through at a time. For most, these are forgotten maintenance holes. But for the few who have gone deeper, they lead to a world unseen for thousands of years. The story of the pyramid's hidden depths begins in the 19th century, when British engineer Wayneman Dixon made a discovery that would change everything. While inspecting the so-called Queen's Chamber, Dixon noticed hairline cracks in the wall, faint seams suggesting a hollow beyond. With a chisel and a hammer he broke through, uncovering a small shaft leading into solid stone. Inside he found two mysterious artifacts, a bronze hook and a polished granite ball. The chamber had been sealed since antiquity. No one could explain why these objects were there, or what they meant. But the strangest part was not what Dixon found. It was what he didn't. The shaft didn't end. It continued into the rock too narrow to follow. Decades later, robotic probes revealed that the shaft terminates in a tiny door, a slab of limestone with two copper handles embedded within it. Engineers nicknamed it Gantenbrink's Door, after the German researcher Rudolf Gantenbrink, who rediscovered it in 1993 using a small robot named Upuat-2. The door was found to be perfectly sealed, untouched for thousands of years. Behind it, radar imaging revealed another space, a void. And in that void, sensors detected something unusual, metallic readings inconsistent with any known material inside the pyramid. Could it be an ancient mechanism, a hidden chamber, or perhaps something intentionally concealed, a lock to something deeper still? Egyptian authorities allowed one more probe in 2002, drilling a small hole through the stone. What they found was not empty air, but another door beyond, identical in shape and alignment, deeper still. Like Russian dolls of limestone, the shaft seemed designed to protect something hidden in their heart. But permission to continue further was suddenly withdrawn. No official explanation was given. For decades, exploration beneath the Giza Plateau has been fraught with secrecy. The Egyptian Antiquities Service maintains strict control over any subterranean investigations. Independent teams, from radar specialists to geologists, have been granted limited access, and many report anomalies that vanish from official records. In 2017, the Scan Pyramids project, using muon tomography, a particle imaging technique capable of seeing through stone, confirmed what many had suspected: a vast, previously unknown cavity directly above the Grand Gallery. The Big Void. Measuring nearly 100 feet long, its exact purpose remains unexplained. There are no visible entrances, no structural necessity for it to exist. It is as if the pyramid's builders intentionally concealed an empty space for reasons lost to time. But that's not all. Ground-penetrating radar beneath the Giza Plateau has uncovered a lattice of tunnels extending far beyond the pyramid itself, some linking to the Sphinx, others disappearing under the desert. These aren't random fissures, they are architectural, geometrically straight. Some terminate in rectangular chambers filled with sediment and faint traces of metal. Researchers report that electromagnetic sensors behave strangely in these areas. Compass needles spin, instruments malfunction, as if something in the stone, or below it, emits an energy not yet understood. Local workers speak of hearing faint vibrations when the wind moves across certain shafts, a low harmonic hum that resonates through the bedrock. To them, it's the breath of the pyramid, a living sound that awakens when the desert is quiet. Scientists dismiss it as airflow, but those who have felt it describe it as something else, a frequency that seems to pulse within the body, like standing near a hidden engine. Could it be that the Great Pyramid was more than architecture? Could it be a machine, designed to resonate with the earth itself? When you descend into these lower tunnels, light gives way to silence, the air grows thick, and time seems to slow. It is said that beneath the pyramid lies a subterranean chamber flooded by the Nile in ancient times, a chamber once described by the Greek philosopher Herodotus, who claimed that the pyramid's builders worked upon an island surrounded by water. If true, it means that what lies beneath Giza is not a foundation, but an entire world. And yet, we've barely begun to see it. Because the real mystery, the one that could rewrite human history, may not lie within the pyramid's stones at all. It may lie in the tunnels that stretch outward, far below the desert floor, connecting the pyramids to something far older. A labyrinth, a network, a hidden system of power, buried in the heart of Egypt. Long before explorers crawled through the shafts of the Great Pyramid, the ancients themselves spoke of an underground world, a labyrinth where stone corridors stretched for miles, filled with secret chambers and ancient wisdom guarded by silence. The Greeks called it the Labyrinth of Egypt. The Egyptians called it Pardijeti, the House of the Spirit. But to those who have sought it across centuries, It is known by another name, the Hall of Records. Herodotus, visiting Egypt in the 5th century BCE, described the labyrinth in awe. He wrote, "It surpasses even the pyramids. There are 12 courts, covered, with gates facing each other, and beneath, endless chambers. I have seen it, and words are not enough to describe its grandeur. The passages are bewildering and innumerable, filled with inscriptions of all living things. Beneath this structure lies another labyrinth, the burial chambers of kings and of the sacred crocodiles. Archaeologists later identified its possible location near Hawara, south of Cairo, a complex of ruined stone that once stood beside the pyramid of Amenemhat III. Ancient maps and Roman writings, from Strabo to Diodorus Siculus, confirmed its existence. The labyrinth was real, but today little remains. Its stones were quarried in antiquity, leaving only the faint outline of a structure once described as the most magnificent wonder of Egypt. Beneath it, however, modern ground-penetrating radar has detected something extraordinary. Vast rectangular voids buried deep below the water table, arranged in geometric order. Could this be the fabled underground labyrinth Herodotus described? Some researchers believe so, others suggest it is only the beginning. Egyptian legend speaks of a sacred archive hidden beneath the sands, a vault of knowledge left by the gods themselves. The Book of Thoth, the divine text said to contain the secrets of the heavens and the earth, was believed to be buried in a chamber of bronze beneath the Temple of the Lion. Many interpret this as a reference to the Sphinx, whose leonine form has guarded the Giza Plateau for more than 10,000 years. Ancient priests told of tunnels beneath the Sphinx leading to the Hall of Records, a repository containing scrolls of wisdom from the lost age of Zep Tepi, the first time when the gods walked among men. In the 20th century, clairvoyant Edgar Cayce reignited interest in the legend, predicting that a hidden chamber would be discovered beneath the Sphinx's right paw, containing records of a lost civilization predating Egypt. His claims were dismissed for decades, until seismic surveys in the 1990s detected unexplained cavities exactly where Cayce described. Officially, these voids are natural fissures. Unofficially, access remains restricted. Yet the myth of the Hall of Records persists, a story echoed not just in Egyptian lore, but in texts from distant lands. The Emerald Tablets of Thoth, though written in later centuries, speak of a subterranean hall where the light of the ages burns eternal, hidden from the eyes of the unworthy. The Book of the Dead describes the soul's journey through a hall of two truths, guarded by divine judges and illuminated by the stars. Is it possible that these ancient metaphors were not purely spiritual, but symbolic retellings of a real, physical place? Consider this. At Hawara, radar scans have mapped corridors extending for hundreds of meters, arranged in a grid-like pattern unlike any known tomb. At Giza, satellite thermal imaging shows temperature anomalies near the base of the Sphinx, suggesting hollow spaces beneath the limestone. These findings mirror descriptions written thousands of years apart by cultures who claimed the same thing. That under Egypt, the earth itself is alive with chambers of stone and light. Even the legendary Library of Alexandria, often thought to be the ultimate repository of human knowledge, may have been modelled after older traditions, an attempt to replicate something that already existed long before. Could the library's founders have been trying to preserve fragments of a wisdom once stored beneath the sand? The ancients did not speak lightly of their myths. In their world, stone and story were one. When they said knowledge was buried, they may have meant it literally. And so we return to Giza, where beneath the Sphinx and the pyramids, ground sensors still echo with the signature of something hollow, structured, and deliberate. Each scan hints at another chamber, another door, another passage sealed in darkness. Some say it is merely geology, others that it is the resting place of the gods, or the survivors of an age when gods and men were not yet separate. Whatever the truth, one thing is certain. The ancients built to last, and what they built was meant to be found, but only when humanity was ready to remember. The Sphinx watches over the Giza plateau like a dream carved from stone, its face serene, its body weathered, its gaze fixed eternally toward the rising sun. For thousands of years it has stood as Egypt's silent sentinel. Yet what if this guardian isn't merely a monument of ancient Egypt, but a relic from a time before Egypt even began? Archaeologists long believed the Sphinx was carved around 2500 BCE for Pharaoh Khafre, the supposed builder of the Second Pyramid. But the evidence tells a different story. When geologist Dr. Robert Schoch examined the Sphinx in the early 1990s, he noticed something other experts had ignored: deep vertical fissures etched into the limestone body. These grooves weren't caused by wind and sand, but by centuries of heavy rainfall. Yet the last time this region of Egypt saw consistent rainfall was between 7000 and 9000 BCE, thousands of years before the reign of Khafre. If Schoch is right, the Sphinx is far older than the pyramids themselves, a survivor from a forgotten epoch when Egypt was not desert but savanna. This theory, though controversial, has since gained quiet support from independent researchers and hydrologists who confirm that the erosion patterns are indeed consistent with prolonged water exposure. And if the Sphinx predates dynastic Egypt, then so too might what lies beneath it. In 1926, French archaeologist Émile Barès led a restoration of the Sphinx. During his work, he reported finding numerous shafts and tunnels beneath the statue, some natural, others clearly carved. His notes describe chambers large enough to stand in, extending toward the Pyramid of Khafre. Most were resealed after exploration, their exact locations unrecorded. Half a century later, seismic surveys conducted by geophysicist Thomas de Beckie and Egyptologist Mark Lenner confirmed the existence of two large cavities beneath the Sphinx's front paws, one rectangular, one circular. The findings were published briefly, then forgotten. But the idea of hidden tunnels refused to die. According to ancient Egyptian lore, the Sphinx was not merely a statue, it was a gatekeeper, a guardian of sacred knowledge buried beneath it. The pyramid texts of the Old Kingdom speak of passages of the underworld beneath the line of the horizon, where the knowledge of the stars is stored. Even Herodotus hinted that the Giza Plateau hid an underground realm filled with water and chambers beyond counting. Modern science is beginning to confirm that strange things happen beneath the Sphinx. Ground-penetrating radar shows discontinuities in the bedrock, tunnels extending toward the nearby pyramids. Thermographic imaging reveals temperature anomalies along the Sphinx's flanks, suggesting internal voids or structural cavities. But perhaps the most intriguing clue isn't architectural at all, it's acoustic. In 2018, researchers testing the resonance of the Sphinx and its surrounding structures discovered that certain frequencies produce distinct vibrations through the bedrock. When sound waves hit specific tones, the limestone responds, amplifying low frequencies and creating harmonic feedback loops between the Sphinx, the pyramids, and the underlying aquifers. This discovery has given rise to a revolutionary theory that the monuments of Giza were part of an integrated energy system, one designed to channel, store, and amplify the natural electromagnetic forces of the Earth. The Nile once flowed much closer to the Sphinx than it does today. Beneath the plateau, groundwater still moves through fissures and caverns, generating subtle electric currents through a process known as electrokinetic streaming. The pyramid's shape, a precise geometric amplifier, could have been designed to resonate with these natural currents, concentrating energy at specific points. If true, the Sphinx may have served as a harmonic key, a gateway that tuned this system, its body aligned with celestial and terrestrial frequencies alike. To the ancient Egyptians, Ma'at, the principle of cosmic order, was not just philosophy. It was physics expressed through sacred geometry. Every temple, every chamber, every angle was tuned to harmony with the cosmos. What we call myth, they may have called engineering. And so, the Sphinx stands not as a symbol of mystery, but as a message carved in stone, a reminder of a science we no longer understand. When the winds rise at night and the desert cools, some say the Sphinx hums softly, a resonance too low for the ear, but felt deep within the chest. Whether it's the whisper of wind, the echo of ancient water, or the heartbeat of something older still, no one can say. But those who have stood before it at sunrise often describe the same sensation, that the Sphinx is not simply looking east, it's waiting. Waiting for the day when we remember what it was built to guard. The Nile has always been Egypt's lifeblood, a ribbon of blue weaving through endless gold. But what most people never realize is that the river's true power may not flow on the surface at all. Beneath the limestone bedrock of the Giza Plateau, water still moves, slowly, silently, carrying with it the memory of an ancient design. Imagine descending through the narrow shafts beneath the Great Pyramid. The air is cool and heavy. Your torchlight glints off damp stone. Below your feet, faint rivulets of water trickle through carved grooves, disappearing into the darkness. You can hear it, the murmur of something living beneath the earth, like the pulse of the planet itself. This isn't new. The ancient historian Herodotus wrote that the pyramid's builders worked upon an island surrounded by water. He described a subterranean chamber in which the body of the king lies, on an island in a canal brought from the Nile. For centuries, scholars dismissed this as myth, but today geological studies confirm that the water table beneath Giza once reached directly beneath the pyramid, and that ancient engineers had carved channels to control it. Beneath the surface, the limestone bedrock acts like a sponge, absorbing and moving groundwater through hidden aquifers. As this water flows through microfractures in the rock, it generates piezoelectric energy, a natural electrical current created by pressure and motion. Now imagine this current moving beneath the Great Pyramid, a structure composed primarily of quartz-rich limestone and granite, materials known to conduct and amplify electromagnetic frequencies. Could it be that the Great Pyramid was designed to resonate with the Earth's natural energy? This is the heart of the controversial pyramid power plant theory, proposed by engineer Christopher Dunn. According to Dunn, the internal design of the Great Pyramid, its shafts, chambers, and granite-lined corridors, is not random architecture, but the blueprint of an energy harvesting device. He suggests that vibrations from underground water flow produced low-frequency sound waves that were amplified through the pyramid's internal geometry. The granite in the king's chamber acted as a resonant cavity, focusing these vibrations into standing waves. Inside, Dunn found evidence of precision cuts so fine that even modern tools would struggle to replicate them. The walls of the Grand Gallery show burn marks and residue consistent with high-frequency energy discharge. Even the mysterious air shafts, long believed to be symbolic pathways for the soul, align with specific stars, perhaps functioning as tuning conduits or waveguides. If true, the Great Pyramid may have been less a tomb and more a machine, one designed to harmonize with the Earth itself, drawing energy from water, vibration, and sound. This idea isn't as far-fetched as it seems. Across the world, ancient sites share uncanny similarities. In Mexico, beneath the Pyramid of the Sun at Teotihuacan, archaeologists discovered a tunnel filled with liquid mercury, possibly used to simulate the movement of water or conduct energy. In Peru, underground channels carved by pre-Incan builders connect temples across vast distances, aligning with geomagnetic anomalies. And in Turkey, the underground cities of Derinkuyu stretch for miles, complete with ventilation shafts and water systems, a hidden world of stone that seems to echo the labyrinths of Egypt. Could all these sites be remnants of a single global understanding, an ancient technology that used water, sound, and stone to tap into the Earth's natural power? Ancient Egyptian mythology may hold the key. The god Osiris, lord of the underworld, was often depicted as emerging from the Nile's depths. His temple at Abydos was built directly above a subterranean chamber known as the Osirian, a cyclopean structure carved from massive granite blocks, aligned perfectly to the stars. When the Osirian was rediscovered in the early 1900s, it was submerged in groundwater, and to this day, its lower chambers remain flooded. Coincidence? Or was it designed that way? The ancient text called the Osirian the House of Life, where the mysteries of resurrection were practiced. Some scholars believe it symbolized the renewal of the Nile's waters. Others suggest it represented something deeper, the regeneration of energy itself through the union of earth, water, and vibration. Everywhere we look, the same pattern emerges: water beneath stone, resonance through geometry, alignment with the stars above. It's as if the ancients built instruments, not monuments, devices that bridged heaven and earth through frequency and flow. Today, we walk across these sites with satellites and sensors, unaware that beneath our feet the world hums softly, a low, eternal note that the ancients once heard clearly. Perhaps the pyramids were never just tombs, or even temples. Perhaps they were interfaces, keys designed to awaken the power of the planet itself. And if that's true, then what happens when we learn to listen again? Look up at the night sky, and you'll see an endless spread of stars, some bright, some distant, but all of them ancient. Now, imagine the world of 10,000 years ago. The night was darker, clearer, and the stars, unclouded by modern light, were the guiding forces of civilization. But what if the ancients didn't just look to the stars for navigation? What if they built their greatest monuments, not just to honor them, but to align with them? The idea that the pyramids and other ancient structures were deliberately aligned with the stars is not new. The ancient Egyptians themselves believed that the gods dwelled among the stars, and their earthly creations reflected cosmic patterns. The Great Pyramid of Giza, for example, aligns almost perfectly with the cardinal directions: north, south, east, and west. Its angles are almost identical to the tilt of the Earth's axis. But what if this alignment wasn't just about geography or spirituality? What if it was about energy, the ability to resonate with the power of the stars themselves? One of the most intriguing patterns begins with the three pyramids of Giza. Their configuration closely mirrors the three stars in the constellation Orion's belt, one of the most recognizable star groupings in the sky. This alignment wasn't merely symbolic. Recent studies using advanced technology like LiDAR and infrared imaging suggest that the positions of the pyramids were not randomly chosen, but carefully designed to harness certain cosmic frequencies, vibrations that would resonate through the stones and amplify the Earth's natural electromagnetic fields. For millennia, the ancient Egyptians believed that the pharaohs were divine beings who became one with the stars upon their death. The pyramid, as a tomb, was not merely a resting place, but a stargate, designed to facilitate the king's journey to the heavens. In fact, some of the oldest texts found in the pyramids, the pyramid texts, describe the deceased pharaoh being transformed into Osiris, the god of the afterlife, and being joined with the stars of Orion. This connection between kingship and the cosmos was fundamental to Egyptian culture. But why? It's possible that the pharaohs were not simply being reunited with the stars, but were actually part of an energetic system that involved the entire structure of Giza. The placement of the pyramids, their design, and even the tombs beneath them may have been intended to resonate with specific points in the sky, not just to honor the gods, but to tap into a cosmic energy source. And this is where things get truly strange. We know that ancient sites around the world share similar alignments. In Mexico, the Great Pyramids of Teotihuacan are also aligned with the stars of Orion's belt, while in Peru, the Nazca Lines, mysterious geometric patterns etched into the desert floor, align with the stars in the Pleiades. In China, the ancient Xi'an pyramids also mirror the positions of constellations, and in India, the temples of Khajuraho are positioned with careful celestial accuracy. What if these alignments are not just coincidences, but part of a global network, a system of ancient knowledge, passed down through generations, and shared across the entire planet? Independent researchers like Robert Bovell and Graham Hancock have long argued that the alignment of Giza with Orion isn't a mere symbolic gesture, but part of an ancient planetary network designed to harness and amplify the energy of the stars. This theory suggests that the ancient builders were not just concerned with their own local environment, but were aware of a much larger system, one that spanned the globe and connected various civilizations through a shared knowledge of cosmic cycles and energy patterns. What if the pyramids of Giza weren't just designed to honor the gods of Egypt, but to act as a part of a greater energy system, one that resonated with the stars and harnessed the forces of the Earth itself? In the past, these alignments may have allowed the builders of these monumental structures to tap into a cosmic power, a form of energy manipulation that we no longer fully understand. But if the knowledge of this energy network existed, it could explain the precision and complexity of the pyramids and other ancient structures. It could also explain the mythologies surrounding the gods of ancient Egypt, who are often described as star beings or celestial travelers. And what about the lost civilizations that predate Egypt? Some researchers suggest that the ancient Egyptians were not the first to unlock the secrets of the stars. In fact, they may have inherited much of their knowledge from a much older civilization, one that existed long before recorded history, and which had mastered the ability to harness the energy of the cosmos. As we look at the evidence, the connections become clearer. The ancient megalithic structures scattered across the world, from the stone circles of England to the ziggurats of Mesopotamia, from the pyramids of China to the temples of South America, all share the same celestial alignments. The question is not how they aligned, but why. Why would so many ancient civilizations, separated by oceans and centuries, build structures that align with the stars in the same way? Could it be that they were all part of an ancient, forgotten global network? A system of knowledge that connected humanity to the stars and harnessed the energy of the Earth itself? Today, our technology is just beginning to scratch the surface of these ancient mysteries. Scientists are using advanced tools like LiDAR, satellite imaging, and ground-penetrating radar to peer beneath the surface of the Earth, and what they are discovering is startling. Beneath the pyramids of Giza, beneath the sands of Egypt, beneath the stone circles of England, there is a hidden world, a world of energy, alignment, and ancient wisdom. Could the ancients have been trying to tell us something? A message encoded in the stars hidden beneath the stone, waiting for us to remember? If the pyramids were more than tombs, if they were part of a cosmic network tuned to the Earth's frequencies and aligned with the stars, then perhaps we're not so far from the knowledge that once connected all of humanity. And if we could rediscover it, what might we learn about our place in the universe? Imagine a world where humanity's greatest minds were united in a single cause, to build a network of monuments, temples, and pyramids scattered across the Earth, all aligned with the stars. A civilization so advanced that it could harness the power of the cosmos itself. A world where the knowledge of energy, architecture, and resonance was passed down in sacred geometry, buried in the stones of forgotten cities. This wasn't ancient Egypt, nor was it the Mesopotamian empires or the lost civilizations of the Americas. It was something far older and far more mysterious. It's known by many names: Atlantis, Lemuria, Hyperborea, the first civilization. For millennia, the stories have persisted, from Plato's description of Atlantis to ancient Hindu texts speaking of a great flood that wiped out a civilization of godlike beings. These myths have often been dismissed as fanciful tales. But what if they weren't just stories? What if they were the memories of a lost age, a civilization that predates everything we know, a civilization whose knowledge was preserved in the monuments we still find today? Graham Hancock, one of the leading proponents of this theory, has spent decades researching the idea of a lost civilization that existed before the rise of known history. According to Hancock, this civilization was likely a global network of advanced societies, all tied together by their knowledge of astronomy, energy, and the Earth's natural forces. But what happened to them? Where did they go? The answer, many believe, lies in the cataclysmic events described in various ancient texts and geological records. We know from scientific evidence that the Earth has experienced mass extinctions, polar shifts, and global catastrophes. The end of the last ice age, around 12,000 years ago, marked a time of dramatic climate change, rising sea levels, and the flooding of vast coastal cities. This was a period of immense upheaval, and it may have been the moment when the global civilization was destroyed. The most well-known story of this cataclysm is the one Plato described in his dialogues about Atlantis. According to Plato, Atlantis was an island nation beyond the Pillars of Hercules, modern-day Gibraltar, a powerful empire that controlled much of the ancient world. But one day, the island was swallowed by the sea, in a single catastrophic event that left no trace. In his writings, Plato refers to this event as happening about 9,000 years before Solon, which would place it roughly around 11,000 BCE, a time when the Earth was undergoing dramatic environmental shifts. Interestingly, geological evidence supports the idea of rapid sea level rise at the end of the last ice age. Many coastal cities that were once thriving centers of culture are now submerged beneath the oceans. Cities like Yonaguni in Japan, Bimini in the Bahamas, and the Caribbean's submerged structures all suggest that ancient civilizations existed along the coastlines that were lost to rising seas after the Ice Age. Could these be the remnants of the lost civilization Plato spoke of? Beyond the floods, there are other theories pointing to a global cataclysm. The Younger Dryas impact hypothesis proposes that a massive comet or asteroid struck the Earth around 12,800 years ago, causing rapid climate shifts and triggering worldwide flooding, firestorms, and the destruction of a life. Some researchers believe this event could have wiped out the advanced societies of the time, leaving behind only fragmented knowledge. Randall Carlson, a geologist and researcher, argues that the evidence of such a cosmic event is found not only in the geological layers, but also in the myths of many ancient cultures, from the Egyptians to the Hopi Native Americans. These myths, passed down through oral tradition, speak of a time when gods walked among men, when great cities were destroyed by fire or water, and when knowledge was lost in the flood. And what about the evidence of this lost civilization in the monuments themselves? The pyramids of Giza, the megalithic temples of Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, the stone circles of England, and the temples of Angkor Wat in Cambodia all share startling similarities. They are aligned with celestial bodies. They use sacred geometry. They channel energy. These patterns suggest that the knowledge of energy, architecture, and the stars was not unique to one civilization, but part of a larger interconnected global network. Could this knowledge have been passed down to the Egyptians, the Mesopotamians, and other ancient cultures after the cataclysm? Perhaps, but much of it was forgotten, lost to time, and buried beneath layers of history. There are also strange references to mysterious texts in the ancient world, like the Book of Thoth, which was said to contain the secrets of the gods and was hidden beneath the sands of Egypt. The Emerald Tablets of Thoth, attributed to a legendary sage of Atlantis, claim that humanity's origins lie in a time when the children of the stars walked the earth, imparting their wisdom to those ready to receive it. Could these texts be remnants of the lost civilization's knowledge, passed down through secretive channels, only to be lost in the aftermath of the Great Cataclysm? As researchers look deeper into the ancient ruins and study the intricate alignments, it becomes clear that the lost civilization may not just be myth, it may be our true history, buried beneath the surface, waiting to be rediscovered. And perhaps the greatest mystery of all is why so much of this knowledge was deliberately hidden. In the coming decades, as technologies like LiDAR, satellite imaging, and ground-penetrating radar become more advanced, we may be on the cusp of uncovering the true scope of this lost civilization. And when that knowledge is found, it could rewrite everything we know about human history. But for now, the sands of time remain heavy, and the lost civilization waits, its knowledge preserved in the stone, in the stars, and in the memories of those who built it. We live in a world where history is often viewed through the lens of written records, a timeline of kings, empires, and wars. But what if the true history of humanity isn't written in books, but carved into stone, hidden beneath the earth, and written in the stars themselves? What if the greatest story of all, the story of who we are and where we came from, was lost long ago in a cataclysmic event, preserved only in the remnants of forgotten monuments? For centuries, mainstream historians and archaeologists have pieced together our story, building a picture of civilization that begins in Mesopotamia, Egypt, and the Indus Valley, the cradles of civilization. But what if these ancient cultures were not the first? What if they inherited their knowledge from a far older, far more advanced civilization, one that existed long before recorded history and left its mark across the planet? Imagine for a moment the implications of such a discovery. If a lost civilization existed, one that understood the power of the stars, the forces of nature, and the hidden energies beneath the earth, it would change everything. It would rewrite our understanding of human evolution, technology, and society. It would challenge our assumptions about the development of science and technology, suggesting that humanity's origins may not be as simple as we've been led to believe. We would have to rethink our entire history, not just in terms of ancient Egypt or Mesopotamia, but in terms of the world. The vast interconnected network of ancient monuments and alignments, from the pyramids of Egypt, to the stone circles of England, to the temples of Cambodia, to the ancient cities of the Americas, would no longer be isolated phenomena. They would be pieces of a global puzzle, pointing to a shared knowledge and a common origin. What would it mean for our understanding of technology? If these ancient structures were designed not just as tombs or temples, but as machines, power sources, resonators, and amplifiers of cosmic energy, then the ancient world may have been far more advanced than we ever imagined. It's possible that the lost civilization possessed a form of knowledge that we have only recently begun to rediscover, knowledge that could have allowed them to manipulate energy, harness the Earth's natural forces, and tap into the power of the cosmos. But even more than that, this revelation would force us to reconsider the cyclical nature of human civilization. If there was once a global network of advanced societies that was destroyed by cataclysm, then what does that say about our own world today? Could we be on the brink of a similar downfall, or could we learn from the mistakes of the past and prevent it from happening again? The possibility of a lost civilization also challenges the very foundation of modern archaeology and history. The idea that there were human civilizations before the advent of writing, before the rise of cities and empires, upends everything we've been taught about human progress. It forces us to consider that humanity's true origins may lie in the stars themselves, that our ancestors may have been far more connected to the cosmos than we've ever imagined. As we push the boundaries of modern science and technology, we are beginning to see through the veil of time. Ground-penetrating radar, satellite imaging, LiDAR, and other advanced tools are opening up a new frontier in the study of ancient monuments. And with each new discovery, we get a little closer to understanding the lost knowledge that has been buried beneath the sands of time. In the coming years, as we continue to explore the mysteries of Giza, Göbekli Tepe, the Sphinx, and other ancient sites, we may unlock the secrets of this lost civilization. The Hall of Records, the underground labyrinths, the hidden chambers beneath the Great Pyramid. These may not be myths or legends, but real places that hold the answers to questions we've been asking for millennia. But as we seek to uncover these secrets, we must also ask ourselves, what happens when we find the truth? What will we do with the knowledge that humanity's origins are far older, far more complex, and far more mysterious than we ever imagined? Perhaps the greatest question of all is this: if a lost civilization rose and fell like the tides, what else might be hidden beneath our feet, waiting to be rediscovered? The story of humanity is still being written, and the next chapter is just beginning. Across the globe, from the deserts of Egypt to the mountains of Peru, ancient civilizations built monuments that defy explanation. From the Great Pyramids of Giza to the Nazca Lines in Peru, from Stonehenge in England to the Machu Picchu in the Andes, the evidence is unmistakable. These civilizations had access to knowledge that modern science is only beginning to understand. But what if these cultures were not isolated from one another? What if they were all part of a larger global network of ancient societies, united by a common knowledge, a knowledge that was passed down through secretive channels and encoded in the monuments they built? Consider the striking similarities between the Great Pyramids of Giza and the Pyramid of the Sun at Teotihuacan in Mexico. Both pyramids are constructed with similar proportions, and both align with the stars in almost identical ways. The same is true of the pyramids at Chichen Itza, which align with the solstices and the position of the sun, just like the Great Pyramid of Giza. But it's not just the pyramids. In England, the ancient stone circles of Avebury and Stonehenge also follow celestial alignments, pointing to a shared understanding of the stars and the cycles of the Earth. Even the Nazca Lines in Peru, mysterious geoglyphs that can only be fully appreciated from the air, align with certain constellations, suggesting a deep knowledge of astronomy. Why would ancient societies separated by vast distances build structures with such similar alignments? What did they share, and how did this knowledge travel across the globe? One theory suggests that these ancient cultures were part of a much larger global civilization, a civilization that spanned the entire planet and was united by a shared understanding of the cosmos, the Earth's natural energies, and the secrets of the stars. This ancient civilization may have been the source of the knowledge that was passed down through the ages, influencing cultures across the world. From Sumerians to Egyptians, from Mayans to Indians, these societies shared knowledge of sacred geometry, celestial alignment, and energy harnessing that has only recently begun to be understood. In fact, there are even stories in Hindu, Native American, and South American traditions that speak of gods who came from the stars, teaching humanity the secrets of the heavens. The Anunnaki of Mesopotamian mythology, the Vedic gods of ancient India, and the gods of the Maya all share similar themes: gods who descend from the sky, bringing knowledge of agriculture, architecture, and the stars. Could these gods have been the bearers of this ancient knowledge? Were they the remnants of a global civilization that predated all recorded history? Could the star beings of ancient myth be real, their teachings encoded in the monuments and myths of cultures across the world? As we uncover the mysteries of these ancient sites, using advanced technologies like LiDAR, ground-penetrating radar, and satellite imaging, we're beginning to piece together a picture of a lost global civilization. And as we dig deeper into the ruins of Giza, Göbekli Tepe, and Tikal, we may begin to understand the true extent of this civilization's influence and how it shaped the development of humanity. Could it be that the ancients were far more connected than we ever imagined? And could the knowledge they shared be the key to unlocking the mysteries of our own origins? If you were to look closely at the Great Pyramid of Giza, you would notice something strange. Its proportions, angles, and even its position on the Earth seem too perfect to be coincidence. The pyramid's base is aligned with incredible precision to the cardinal directions, while its height corresponds to the precise ratio of the Earth's circumference to its radius. But this is just the beginning of the mystery. Ancient civilizations around the world, from the Egyptians to the Mayans, from the Greeks to the Chinese, incorporated sacred geometry into their architecture, art, and spiritual practices. The use of specific ratios, shapes, and proportions wasn't just an aesthetic choice. It was believed to connect the physical world with the divine, aligning human creations with the fundamental patterns of the universe. At the heart of this geometric language is the golden ratio, a mathematical constant found throughout nature, art, and architecture. The golden ratio, also known as phi, is a ratio that produces a visually harmonious balance and is closely associated with the spiral shapes found in shells, flowers, galaxies, and even the proportions of the human body. The Greeks were the first to formalize the concept of the golden ratio, but the Egyptians and other ancient cultures were already using it centuries before. In fact, the Great Pyramid of Giza itself is believed to have been built using the golden ratio. The height of the pyramid, the length of its sides, and even the angle of its slope are all said to correspond to phi. This is no coincidence. The ancient Egyptians understood that the universe was governed by a set of principles, and they encoded this knowledge into their most sacred and powerful monument. But the use of sacred geometry isn't limited to the Great Pyramid. In Teotihuacan, the Pyramid of the Sun and the Pyramid of the Moon are also built with precise geometric ratios that reflect the cycles of the Sun and Moon. In Peru, the Nazca lines are thought to have been created using sacred geometric patterns, aligning with the solstices and other celestial events. In Greece, the Parthenon, the temple dedicated to the goddess Athena, is another example of the use of sacred geometry. The entire structure is based on the golden ratio, with the length of the temple, the spacing of its columns, and the proportions of its interior all aligning with phi. This was not just for aesthetic beauty, but to create a building that reflected divine harmony. But what is the deeper significance of sacred geometry? Why did ancient civilizations go to such lengths to encode these patterns into their architecture and monuments? Many researchers believe that sacred geometry was not just a form of art or spirituality, but a way to harness natural energy. The ancient Egyptians, for example, were deeply attuned to the cycles of the earth, the stars, and the cosmos. They believed that the Great Pyramid was not only a tomb, but a resonant chamber designed to channel and amplify cosmic energies. The pyramid texts describe the king's journey to the stars, a journey facilitated by the pyramid itself, which acted as a conduit between the earth and the heavens. Could it be that sacred geometry is more than just a symbolic system? Could it be that the ancients were using these ratios and patterns to tap into cosmic forces? Some researchers, such as Christopher Dunn, have suggested that the Great Pyramid was designed as a resonator, a structure capable of harnessing energy through the geometric alignment of its stones. If the pyramid was built using sacred geometry, then it may have been specifically designed to interact with the Earth's natural energies, creating a powerful electromagnetic field. The key to this energy system lies in the geometry of the pyramid itself. The precise angles and proportions of the Great Pyramid allow it to create a resonance with the Earth's magnetic field, much like how a tuning fork resonates with a specific note. The pyramid structure may have acted as an amplifier, focusing and intensifying the natural energy flowing beneath the ground. If this theory is correct, the Great Pyramid could have functioned as a massive energy generator, harnessing the power of the Earth's electromagnetic field to create light, sound, or even a form of free energy. This concept of energy harmonics is not limited to the pyramids. Ancient temples, stone circles, and megalithic structures around the world show a remarkable understanding of sacred geometry. From the stone circles of Avebury and Stonehenge to the temples of Angkor Wat in Cambodia, the layout of these structures is designed to resonate with the natural forces of the earth, aligning with specific celestial events such as solstices and equinoxes. In ancient India, the Vedic texts describe the use of sacred geometry in the construction of temples and cities, with the idea that the right geometric proportions could harmonize a space with the universe. The concept of Vastu Shastra, an ancient system of architecture, uses sacred geometry to create harmonious living spaces by aligning buildings with the forces of nature and the cosmos. The use of sacred geometry can also be seen in the Mayan pyramids of Chichen Itza, where the structure is aligned with the movements of the sun. The Maya were masters of astronomy, and their use of sacred geometry in their temples and pyramids was not just for spiritual purposes but also for practical applications, aligning their cities with the stars, measuring time, and tracking celestial events. It seems clear that sacred geometry was more than just a design principle. It was a language of the cosmos, a way for ancient civilizations to connect with the natural world and the energies that flow through it. The ancient builders understood that geometry could be used to tap into the forces of nature, and they encoded this knowledge into their monuments and structures. The question remains, how much of this knowledge did they possess? And could this ancient understanding of geometry and energy be the key to unlocking the mysteries of the lost civilization that spanned the globe? Throughout history, humans have gazed up at the stars with a sense of wonder and awe, but for the ancients, the stars were not just beautiful objects in the night sky. They were a map, a guide, and a source of immense power. From the pyramids of Giza to the temples of Angkor Wat, ancient civilizations all over the world built their monuments with astonishing precision, aligning them with celestial bodies and cosmic cycles. The question is, why? At the heart of this mystery is the idea that these ancient societies used astronomy not only to track time, but to tap into the natural rhythms of the universe. The alignment of stars, planets, and constellations may have been more than just a symbolic gesture. It could have been a practical means of harnessing cosmic energy. Take the Great Pyramid of Giza as an example. The pyramid is aligned with stellar precision to the cardinal directions, and its internal shafts point directly to specific stars, such as Sirius and Orion. The ancient Egyptians believed that the pharaohs were not simply buried in the pyramids, but rather that their souls would ascend to the stars, to the home of the gods, Osiris, in the constellation of Orion. The pyramid itself was a portal, a gateway to the afterlife, designed to facilitate this cosmic journey. The Egyptians weren't alone in their use of stellar alignments. The ancient Mayans of Central America built their monumental pyramids, such as El Castillo at Chichen Itza, with an extraordinary understanding of the stars. The pyramid was designed to align with the equinoxes, with the sun casting a shadow on the steps to create the illusion of a serpent descending the pyramid, a symbol of the Mayan serpent god, Kukulkan. This alignment wasn't just for show, it marked an important astronomical event, the arrival of the sun at the equinox signalling the start of a new cycle. In Peru, the Nazca lines, vast geoglyphs carved into the desert floor, also exhibit a profound understanding of astronomy. Some of these lines align with the positions of stars, while others are thought to correspond to the solstices, marking the changing seasons. The Nazca people use the sky not just for navigation, but for rituals, possibly involving star gods and celestial cycles that guided their agricultural practices and spiritual beliefs. Even the ancient Greeks were influenced by celestial patterns in their architecture. The Parthenon in Athens was carefully aligned with the starry sky, with the position of its columns, its proportions, and its orientation all mirroring the heavens. The ancient Greek philosophers believed that the universe was governed by mathematical principles, and that the cosmos itself was a reflection of divine order. The Parthenon, in this sense, was not just a temple to the goddess Athena. It was a cosmic symbol, an architectural manifestation of the stars themselves. But what did the ancients understand about the stars that we are only now beginning to comprehend? It's possible that these ancient cultures had a far more sophisticated understanding of astronomy, one that allowed them to align their structures with incredible precision. Some researchers believe that these alignments were not just for religious purposes, but also had practical applications, allowing the builders to harness energy and create resonance with the Earth and the cosmos. One theory, popularized by Graham Hancock and Robert Bovell, suggests that the Egyptians used the pyramids to resonate with the natural energies of the Earth, and that the alignment with Orion was part of a larger cosmic blueprint. According to this theory, the pyramid wasn't just a tomb, it was a vibrational machine designed to interact with the Earth's natural electromagnetic field and create a specific resonance with the stars. In this way, the pyramid could have been used as a form of energy harvesting, tapping into the Earth's natural energy grids and the cosmic energy of the stars. The ancient Sumerians also had a deep understanding of the stars, which they incorporated into their mythology and architecture. The Anunnaki, a group of gods in Sumerian tradition, were believed to have descended from the stars, bringing knowledge of agriculture, architecture, and writing to the people. Could it be that the Anunnaki were not mythological beings, but ancient visitors or remnants of a lost civilization who brought this knowledge of the stars with them? The Indians were no strangers to celestial alignments either. The temples at Khajuraho are aligned with the planetary constellations and the ancient system of Vastu Shastra, an architectural system that governs the layout of buildings and cities, is based on the movements of the stars and the planets. The Vedic texts also speak of the gods of the stars and the importance of aligning one's life with the cosmic order. In all these cultures, the stars weren't just points of light in the sky. They were powerful forces that guided every aspect of life, from architecture to agriculture, from spirituality to daily rituals. The ancients believed that the stars were not distant and untouchable, but intimately connected to the rhythms of life on Earth. The alignment of monuments with celestial bodies wasn't just symbolic. It was a way to tap into the energy and power of the cosmos. But the question remains, how did the ancients achieve such precise astronomical knowledge? Some researchers, like Randall Carlson, argue that these cultures were not simply observing the stars, but were actively using them to interact with the natural forces of the Earth. The resonance between the Earth and the stars may have been a key to unlocking cosmic energy, and the ancients may have used this knowledge to power their machines, manipulate the environment, and even achieve spiritual transcendence. As modern technology continues to uncover the mysteries of these ancient monuments, we are left with more questions than answers. How much of this knowledge has been lost over time, and how much of it is still hidden beneath the surface waiting to be discovered? Imagine standing at the base of the Great Pyramid at Giza, the sun low on the horizon, the desert air shimmering with heat. Beneath your feet the ground hums with a subtle vibration. Ancient legends speak of the Earth as a living being, a conscious organism whose surface pulses with energy lines that connect sacred sites across the globe. Modern science might call them geomagnetic anomalies or telluric currents, but to the ancients, these were the veins of the Earth, the pathways through which the planet's life force flowed. These energy lines, sometimes called ley lines, appear to connect many of the world's most mysterious ancient monuments. From the pyramids of Egypt to Stonehenge in England, from the Nazca lines in Peru to the temples of Angkor Wat in Cambodia, all of these sites seem to sit on intersections of these powerful currents. Could it be a coincidence? Or did the builders of these monuments know something we've forgotten? In 1921, British amateur archaeologist Alfred Watkins was the first to use the term ley lines. He noticed that ancient sites in the English countryside, standing stones, burial mounds and old churches, often lined up perfectly across miles of terrain. At first, the idea was dismissed as chance alignment, but as satellite mapping improved, researchers began to notice similar global patterns. The Great Pyramid, for instance, aligns almost perfectly with Easter Island, Machu Picchu, and Angkor Wat, along a great circle that wraps around the Earth, a geometric grid connecting sacred sites with mathematical precision. Coincidence, or evidence of an ancient global design? To the Egyptians, this would not have been strange at all. Their worldview was holistic. They saw the heavens, the earth, and the underworld as interconnected realms. Building a temple or pyramid wasn't merely an act of construction, it was a form of communication with the living earth. The sites they chose often sat atop subterranean water channels, areas where telluric currents were especially strong. Recent ground-penetrating radar surveys have revealed complex water systems flowing beneath the Giza Plateau. Rivers of energy, quite literally. Some engineers have speculated that this water, combined with the pyramid's limestone casing and geometric precision, could create piezoelectric energy, an effect where mechanical stress generates electrical charge. Could the pyramids have been designed to amplify these natural forces? The concept of an energy grid spanning the globe is not new. In Chinese geomancy, known as feng shui, the flow of energy, or qi, through the earth was mapped and balanced to ensure harmony. The ancient Chinese built temples and cities along what they called dragon lines, the energetic arteries of the planet. In India, Vastu Shastra described similar currents, teaching that buildings must align with the prana, the life force that flows through the earth. Even the Aboriginal Dreamtime stories of Australia speak of songlines, invisible pathways that crisscross the land, connecting sacred sites through vibration and song. Everywhere we look, ancient cultures describe the same phenomenon. The earth is a web of energy that can be felt, measured, and harnessed. But what does modern science say? The earth is surrounded by a complex electromagnetic field, generated by its molten iron core and interacting constantly with solar radiation. Scientists have discovered zones of intense magnetic variation, and even areas where the planet's resonance, known as the Schumann resonance, becomes unusually strong. The Schumann resonance is the natural heartbeat of the Earth, pulsing at roughly 7.83 Hz. Intriguingly, many ancient temples, chambers, and megalithic structures resonate at this same frequency. Coincidence? Or did ancient builders intentionally tune their monuments to the planet's own frequency? When you step inside the king's chamber of the Great Pyramid, something remarkable happens. The air feels heavy, charged. Sound carries in strange ways. A single hum can fill the room with deep, vibrating tones. Researchers like Christopher Dunn have suggested that this chamber, carved from pink granite containing high levels of quartz, acts like a resonator, amplifying natural frequencies and turning the entire structure into a massive tuning fork synchronized with the Earth itself. But what if the Great Pyramid wasn't the only one? When mapped on a global scale, the pyramids of Mexico, China, and Egypt all fall along specific energy lines of the planet, points where telluric currents converge. Some researchers have proposed that these monuments acted as nodes in a global energy network, designed to balance or amplify the Earth's natural harmonics. If so, the ancients may have understood planetary energy engineering, a science that we are only beginning to rediscover. Archaeologist and author John Michel, in his groundbreaking book The View Over Atlantis, argued that ancient sites were intentionally built on these geomagnetic lines to create harmony between humanity and the cosmos. He believed that by constructing temples, pyramids, and stone circles at these intersections, the ancients created resonant fields that could heal, enhance consciousness, and even influence weather patterns. If we consider this possibility, then the purpose of ancient monuments takes on an entirely new dimension. The pyramids, stone circles, and temples were not just places of ritual. They were machines of balance, designed to keep the Earth's energy in harmony. And if this knowledge once existed, then perhaps it was lost, or hidden, when the last great cataclysm swept over the Earth. Some researchers link this global network of energy to the memory of a lost civilization, one that understood how to harness the planet's magnetic field for power, healing, and communication. A civilization that may have passed this knowledge down to its descendants, the Egyptians, the Mayans, the Sumerians. Could the builders of Giza have inherited their knowledge from this forgotten world? And if so, how much of that ancient science still lies buried beneath the sands, waiting to be rediscovered? Imagine walking deep inside the Great Pyramid. The narrow corridors close around you, the air still and electric. Every footstep echoes through chambers of stone, each note lingering longer than it should, as if the walls themselves are singing back. Researchers who have tested the acoustic properties of these chambers report something strange. They are tuned, not random. The very architecture seems designed to resonate with specific frequencies of sound. But why? And what could the ancients have been using it for? To understand this mystery, we need to explore the concept of vibrational technology. The idea that ancient builders understood the fundamental power of sound to move matter, alter states of consciousness, and perhaps even generate energy. Sound is more than what we hear, it is vibration. And vibration is the basis of all physical reality. Every atom, every particle, every cell in our bodies oscillates at a certain frequency. To the ancients, this wasn't a metaphor. It was the very language of creation. Ancient texts from Egypt, India, and Sumer all describe the universe as being spoken, sung, or vibrated into existence. The Egyptian Book of Coming Forth by Day, known as the Book of the Dead, describes how the god Ptah created the world through the word. by speaking the names of things into being. In India, the Vedas declare that the universe began with a single sound. Om, the primordial vibration from which all existence flows. Could these myths be symbolic memories of an ancient understanding that sound itself was a creative force capable of shaping and moving matter? In the 20th century, researchers began experimenting with the physical effects of sound on materials. The field became known as cymatics, the study of visible sound vibration. When fine powders or liquids are exposed to sound frequencies, they form intricate geometric patterns, some resembling mandalas, snowflakes, or sacred geometry found in ancient art. Change the frequency, and the pattern changes. The implications are staggering. Sound organizes matter. Now imagine scaling this concept up. Could the ancients have used sound frequencies to manipulate heavy stone blocks, lift them into place, or even cut through solid granite with surgical precision? In the temples of Abydos and Karnak, blocks of stone weighing hundreds of tons are stacked with impossible accuracy. Some stones show evidence of having been shaped by vibrational cutting tools, leaving smooth, curved surfaces that modern diamond blades struggle to reproduce. In Sacsayhuaman, Peru, massive polygonal stones fit together like puzzle pieces, so tightly that even a razor blade cannot fit between them. Mainstream archaeology attributes this to skill and patience, but to some researchers, the precision and smoothness of these surfaces suggest something else: the use of sonic technology. In 2014, scientists studying the King's Chamber of the Great Pyramid recorded acoustic anomalies that correspond to specific frequencies, including 110 Hz, 121 Hz, and 440 Hz. These tones, when produced simultaneously, create powerful standing waves that reverberate through the stone walls. The chamber behaves like a massive resonating box, amplifying and sustaining these frequencies. Some believe that the ancient Egyptians intentionally designed the pyramid to resonate at these frequencies to harness vibrational energy, perhaps as part of a spiritual ritual, or even as a technological process. Christopher Dunn, in his book The Giza Power Plant, proposed that the Great Pyramid functioned as a massive harmonic machine, using sound resonance and piezoelectric effects from its quartz-filled granite blocks to generate energy. According to Dunn, water from the Nile may have been channeled beneath the pyramid, setting up vibrational currents that interacted with the structure's geometry. When sound waves of certain frequencies were introduced, possibly through chanting or drumming, the pyramid began to resonate, amplifying the vibrations until it produced usable power. This might sound far-fetched, but modern science has shown that vibration can indeed move and manipulate objects. Experiments using acoustic levitation have demonstrated that sound waves can lift small objects into the air. When sound frequencies are tuned correctly, they can counteract gravity, causing particles, and even small droplets of liquid, to float in mid-air. What if the ancients mastered this technique on a grand scale? Legends from around the world speak of priests and magicians who could move stones with sound. In Tibet, witnesses in the early 20th century claimed to see monks using trumpets and drums to levitate massive stones up cliff faces. In Egypt, ancient texts describe the use of words of power, sound vibrations capable of moving objects or opening gateways between worlds. Perhaps these words of power were not magic at all, but an advanced understanding of acoustics. The ancients may also have used sound for healing and altered states of consciousness. Temples like the Hippogam of Hal Saflieni in Malta, an underground complex dating back over 5,000 years, resonate at precisely 110 Hz, the same frequency known today to induce trance-like states in the human brain. Visitors describe sensations of vibration throughout the body, as if the entire chamber is alive. Did the builders understand that sound could affect not just the physical world, but the mind and spirit as well? The pattern is unmistakable. Across cultures, sound is at the heart of creation and at the heart of construction. Whether it was used to move stones, heal the body, or communicate with the gods, the ancients treated sound as a sacred and powerful force, one capable of bridging the gap between the seen and the unseen. Modern science is only beginning to rediscover what the ancients may have known thousands of years ago, that the universe is vibration, and when we understand how to tune into its frequencies, we can reshape reality itself. Could it be that the Great Pyramid of Giza and the monuments like it were instruments, not tombs, built to harmonize the Earth's energy through the power of sound. And if that's true, what kind of civilization possessed this level of understanding, and why was it forgotten? Beneath the Giza Plateau, the Earth hums with movement. It is not solid, but hollowed with channels, caverns, and aquifers that run beneath the desert sands, ancient waterways once connected to the Nile. These underground streams, first mapped by seismic surveys in the late 20th century, were largely ignored by mainstream archaeology. But for those who have studied the energetic potential of the pyramids, these waters might be the missing piece of a long-forgotten technology. The Nile River, ancient Egypt's lifeblood, was not just a source of irrigation and transportation. It was, symbolically and physically, a channel of divine energy, the pulse of the god Hapi, who brought life to the land. The pyramids of Giza were constructed right beside this river, aligned in perfect symmetry with it, almost as if they were designed to interact with its flow. In 1998, geological studies revealed the presence of subterranean water channels beneath the Great Pyramid, a network that still carries underground currents to this day. Some of these channels run directly beneath the monument, suggesting that the structure may have been built intentionally above an aquifer. The question is, why? If we consider the pyramid not as a tomb, but as a machine, the role of water becomes clear. Flowing water generates vibration, low-frequency sound waves that travel through stone. In modern engineering, this principle is known as hydroacoustics. When water moves through underground cavities, it creates subtle oscillations that can be amplified by the geometry of the surrounding structure. Now imagine an aquifer flowing directly beneath a perfectly tuned, geometrically precise pyramid built of conductive limestone and granite, materials rich in quartz crystal, known for their piezoelectric properties. When quartz is subjected to pressure or vibration, it produces an electrical charge. This is not speculation. It's the very same principle that powers the quartz oscillators in watches and electronic devices today. If the water flowing beneath the Great Pyramid caused the bedrock to vibrate, and those vibrations were transferred into the structure's crystalline stones, then the entire pyramid could have acted as a giant piezoelectric resonator, converting the Earth's natural movement into electrical energy. This idea aligns with the research of Christopher Dunn, who theorized that the pyramid's internal layout, with its shafts, chambers, and acoustic passages, was designed to channel and amplify vibrational energy. According to Dunn, water from the Nile may have been channeled into a subterranean chamber, where its movement created a continuous source of sound and vibration. These frequencies resonated up through the structure, energizing the granite in the king's chamber and generating electromagnetic effects that could be harnessed or stored. Sound, geometry, and water, three forces united in one extraordinary design. Some ancient texts and later Greek accounts speak of living pyramids, humming with energy and resonating like a great engine. The Arab historian al-Masudi, writing in the 10th century, claimed that the pyramids once hummed with sound like bees in a hive. Could these be echoes of a time when the pyramids were active, not monuments to death, but machines of life, powered by the flow of the Nile? We see similar patterns in other ancient sites. In South America, the Temple of the Water at Machu Picchu channels spring water through terraces and chambers designed to produce subtle vibrations. The sound of flowing water is amplified by the stone architecture, creating frequencies that seem to resonate with the mountain itself. In India, temples along the Ganges were built to align with the movement of water, their steps descending into the river to draw spiritual and perhaps energetic power. Even in ancient China, the principle of feng shui emphasized the placement of buildings near flowing water to balance and enhance the movement of energy, or qi. Across the world, ancient architects seemed to understand that where water flowed, energy followed. It was not superstition, it was science, encoded in myth. Recent infrared satellite imaging has revealed that the Giza Plateau contains more underground cavities than previously thought. Some of these appear directly connected to the Sphinx, and possibly to hidden tunnels running toward the Nile. A 2017 study by Egyptian geologist Abdelhakim Oyan proposed that these water channels could be remnants of a much older hydraulic system, perhaps one built before the pharaohs, by a culture that understood the energetic power of water. If true, this would suggest that the pyramids were never tombs at all, but components of a vast hydraulic network designed to stabilize, energize, and perhaps even communicate through vibration. Imagine the entire Giza complex, the pyramids, the Sphinx, the temples, as parts of one interconnected system, where sound waves from water movement resonated through the limestone bedrock, amplified by the geometry of the pyramids and transmitted into the atmosphere or across vast distances. This could explain the electromagnetic anomalies detected above the Great Pyramid in modern times, where instruments have measured faint but measurable energy fields at its apex, as if something dormant still lingers, waiting to be reactivated. And yet, mainstream archaeology remains silent on this possibility. To them, the idea that water could power or interact with the pyramids is dismissed as pseudoscience. But as new technologies like ground-penetrating radar and LiDAR continue to map what lies beneath the sand, more evidence emerges to support the notion that the ancients understood geological energy in ways we have yet to rediscover. Perhaps the ancients saw the Earth not as a dead rock, but as a living organism, breathing, pulsing, flowing with water and energy. Their monuments were not mere symbols of faith, but instruments designed to harmonize with that life force. If that's true, then beneath the Great Pyramid, the Nile itself was the heartbeat, the rhythmic pulse that brought the monument to life. Could it be that what we call sacred architecture was in fact a science of planetary resonance, a technology designed to balance the Earth's energy field? And if so, what happens if that system is ever awakened again? It stares eternally toward the east, its eyes fixed on the rising sun, the symbol of rebirth and divine power. The Great Sphinx of Giza, carved from a single mass of limestone, is one of the oldest and most enigmatic monuments on Earth. For centuries it has been an icon of mystery, a silent witness to civilizations rising and falling around it. Yet, even after more than 200 years of archaeological study, its true age, purpose, and the identity of its builders remain unsolved riddles. The mainstream view tells us that the Sphinx was constructed around 2500 BCE, during the reign of Pharaoh Khafre, the supposed builder of the Second Pyramid. This idea is based largely on circumstantial evidence, a single fragment of a statue found near the Sphinx temple bearing Khafre's name. But what if that attribution is wrong? What if the Sphinx is far older, perhaps by thousands of years, and was simply adopted by the pharaohs, restored and recarved to suit their own dynasties? In the early 1990s, a controversial study by geologist Dr. Robert Schoch shook the foundations of Egyptology. Using detailed analysis of the Sphinx's weathering patterns, Schoch concluded that the erosion on its body was not caused by wind and sand, but by heavy rainfall. Rainfall that could only have occurred thousands of years before the Sahara became a desert. His findings suggested that the original structure might date back to at least 7000 BCE, or even earlier, to a time when the Giza Plateau was lush, green, and alive with flowing water. If true, this changes everything. It would mean the Sphinx predates the entire pharaonic civilization. It would mean there was a culture, advanced, organized, and capable of monumental stonework, that existed long before dynastic Egypt. A civilization whose memory may have inspired the myths of Atlantis, Zep-Tepi, and the first time of the gods. The ancient Egyptians themselves spoke of this forgotten era. They called it Zep-Tepi, the first time, the age when gods walked among men, when civilization was gifted to humanity by divine beings who came from across the waters. The Sphinx, aligned perfectly with the rising sun of the equinox, may have been built as a marker of this celestial rebirth, a monument not of human kings, but of the gods themselves. Beneath its immense paws lies the Dream Stela, erected by Pharaoh Thutmose IV around 1400 BCE. It tells of a dream in which the Sphinx spoke, promising the young prince kingship if he would clear away the sands that had buried it. But the text also hints at something deeper, that the Sphinx was ancient even then, already buried by centuries of drifting sand. The pharaoh did not build it, he found it. Modern technology has begun to uncover what Thutmose might have seen. Ground-penetrating radar and seismic scans conducted in the 1990s and again in the 2010s revealed rectangular anomalies beneath the Sphinx, chambers and tunnels extending under its body toward the pyramid complex. One of these anomalies, located beneath the Sphinx's front paws, measures approximately 30 by 40 feet and sits at a depth that suggests deliberate construction. Egyptian authorities have acknowledged its existence but have never permitted full excavation. Some researchers believe this hidden void could be the legendary Hall of Records, a vast underground library said to preserve the knowledge of a lost civilization, possibly the survivors of a cataclysm that ended the last ice age. The story originates from Edgar Cayce, the sleeping prophet, who in the early 20th century predicted that a chamber containing the wisdom of Atlantis would one day be discovered beneath the Sphinx, just before the dawn of a new age of humanity. At the time, Cayce's claims were dismissed as fantasy, but now, as modern instruments confirm the presence of real, unexplored cavities beneath the monument, his prophecies seem less like myth and more like a mystery awaiting verification. Egyptologist Zahi Hawass, one of the most prominent figures in modern archaeology, has repeatedly denied the existence of any secret chamber. Yet even Hawass has admitted that radar scans have revealed voids and tunnels. Why then has no one been allowed to explore them fully? Some suggest it is because the implications would be too great, that if the Sphinx predates Egypt, then everything we think we know about the origin of civilization must be rewritten. If the Sphinx truly guards an ancient chamber, what might lie within it? Ancient texts from across the world, from Mesopotamia, from the Vedas of India, from pre-Columbian legends, all speak of hidden archives, records of the gods, preserved after a great flood to safeguard the knowledge of a fallen world. Could the Sphinx be one of those repositories, a marker, a guardian, a monument built to endure until humanity was ready to remember? And there's another clue. The alignment of the Sphinx with the constellation Leo as it appeared around 10,500 BCE is strikingly precise. At that time, the constellation rose directly in front of the monument during the spring equinox. This coincidence has led some astronomers and historians, like Graham Hancock and Robert Bovell, to propose that the Sphinx was carved to commemorate that exact epoch, perhaps to mark the rebirth of civilization after the last great cataclysm. If that is true, the Sphinx is not 4,500 years old, but more than 12,000 years old, a survivor of an age erased by flood, fire, and time. Beneath its weathered face and enigmatic smile may lie the key to our forgotten origins, the proof that humanity's first chapter did not begin in Egypt, but far earlier, in a world now lost beneath the sands of time. For centuries the Sphinx has loomed in solemn silence, its eroded face turned toward the rising sun. Yet, beneath its massive pores, countless explorers have claimed to sense something, a presence, an echo, a secret waiting to be unearthed. And now, with the advent of advanced imaging technologies, what once was legend is turning into a tangible mystery. In the late 20th century, a team led by geophysicist Thomas Dubecki and geologist Robert Schoch performed seismic surveys across the Sphinx enclosure. What they discovered sent shockwaves through the archaeological community. Beneath the statue, particularly between its front paws and along its flanks, the radar detected large rectangular voids, symmetrical spaces unlikely to have formed naturally. Their dimensions were consistent with man-made chambers, carved deliberately into the bedrock. The implications were staggering. Could these be the fabled Hall of Records spoken of in ancient lore? The library of an antediluvian civilization, buried to preserve its wisdom from the cataclysms of the past? According to some interpretations of the Edgar Cayce readings, this hall was sealed around 10,500 BCE, a date that eerily matches the astronomical alignment of the Sphinx with the constellation Leo. Cayce's followers have long claimed that this chamber would one day be discovered as a new era of human awakening approached, a time when science and spirituality would finally converge. The notion was dismissed for decades as myth, yet every radar scan and subsurface survey seems to bring us closer to that hidden chamber. Officially, the Egyptian Supreme Council of Antiquities insists that no such rooms exist, but leaked reports, satellite imagery, and independent analyses tell another story. In 1998, a Japanese archaeological team from Waseda University conducted their own remote sensing study around the Sphinx and reported a series of connected tunnels extending both north and south of the monument. They claimed one passage ran directly toward the Great Pyramid, possibly linking the two structures underground. Those findings were quietly set aside, and the team was denied further access. The reason given was preservation concerns. but some suspect that the true reason was far more complex, that whatever lies beneath could undermine the established timeline of Egyptian history. Beneath the Giza Plateau, ancient texts have long hinted at a subterranean world, a labyrinth of passageways, vaults, and sealed doorways described by writers as far back as Herodotus, who wrote of vast chambers and winding tunnels beneath the pyramids, forbidden to all but the priests. Centuries later, Strabo and Pliny the Elder echoed these claims, speaking of a hidden city below the sands, one that housed the secrets of the gods. In modern times, engineers who have drilled boreholes for restoration projects near the Sphinx have occasionally struck hollow resonance zones, indicating empty spaces beneath. Some claim to have felt subtle vibrations in the bedrock, as though water or something else still moves through the veins of the plateau. And then there is the story of Howard Vyse, the 19th century British explorer who dynamited parts of the Great Pyramid's interior chambers. In his journals, Vyse mentioned rumours of a concealed shaft beneath the Sphinx leading to rooms unknown, though he never found it himself. Some believe the Egyptians who worked with him may have intentionally misdirected his search, protecting a sacred site that predates their own recorded history. In recent decades, ground-penetrating radar and LiDAR scans conducted by private researchers have revealed a complex pattern of subsurface anomalies across the Giza Plateau. These include straight, parallel corridors that appear to interconnect beneath the Sphinx, the Great Pyramid, and the now-buried Temple of Isis. The geometry of these corridors seems too deliberate to be natural, and their orientation aligns with the same celestial meridians that guided the surface structures. Could this be the vestige of a lost technological network? Perhaps water channels, energy conduits, or ancient acoustic systems designed to harness the Earth's natural resonance? The ancient Egyptians called Giza Rostau, the gateway to the netherworld. Could that term have had a literal meaning, describing not mythic afterlives but actual tunnels descending into the subterranean realm? Meanwhile, there are whispers of discoveries quietly made and never revealed. In the 1970s, Egyptian archaeologist Abdel Hakim Awian, whose family had lived near Giza for generations, claimed that his ancestors spoke of vast caverns and hidden halls beneath the plateau, passages filled with hieroglyphs, chambers that glowed with a strange light, and sealed rooms that no one dared open. His words, once dismissed as folklore, are now being reconsidered in light of new radar scans confirming the presence of deep, uncharted voids. Could it be that the Sphinx is not merely a statue, but a marker, a gateway pointing to a vast archive buried beneath the sands? Perhaps it was never meant to be worshipped, but to guard something placed there by a civilization that knew their time was ending, preserving their legacy for those who would one day rediscover it. The sands of Egypt are shifting once again, and the instruments of modern science are beginning to echo the whispers of ancient myth. Beneath the Sphinx, the ground hums faintly, as if the earth itself remembers what we have forgotten, and as we prepare to peer deeper into this hidden world, we must ask ourselves, what happens if the secrets beneath Giza are not relics of the past, but a message left for the future? Long before archaeologists uncovered the grandeur of the pyramids, ancient travellers spoke of another marvel, a place so vast, so complex, that even the Great Pyramid seemed modest by comparison. They called it the Labyrinth of Egypt, a sprawling network of halls, chambers and passageways hidden beneath the sands. It was said to contain the histories of the ancient world, the tombs of kings, and the secrets of the gods themselves. For centuries, scholars dismissed it as a legend. But what if the labyrinth is real, and lies buried beneath our very feet? The Greek historian Herodotus, writing in the 5th century BCE, claimed to have seen it with his own eyes. He described a structure beyond words, more magnificent than any temple or pyramid. According to his account, it contained 3,000 rooms, half above ground and half below, each filled with intricate carvings and sacred texts. The upper halls, he said, were open to visitors, but the subterranean chambers were forbidden, containing the tombs of kings and the secret things of the gods. A century later, the geographer Strabo confirmed Herodotus' account, adding that the labyrinth lay near Lake Moeris in the region of Hawara, an area roughly 80 kilometers south of Giza. Roman writer Pliny the Elder also mentioned it, calling it an immense structure, second only to the wonders of nature. If their accounts are true, the labyrinth would have been one of the greatest architectural achievements of the ancient world, and yet no visible trace of it remains today. For centuries, explorers searched the sands of Hawara for any sign of this lost monument. In the 19th century, British archaeologist Flinders Petrie, one of the pioneers of Egyptology, excavated the site. He discovered colossal stone blocks and deep-cut foundations that hinted at a massive complex once standing there. Petrie concluded that these ruins were indeed the remains of the legendary labyrinth. Though the upper halls had been dismantled in antiquity, their stones reused by later builders. But the deeper levels, the ones Herodotus and Strabo described as hidden from the eyes of men, were nowhere to be found. Petrie believed they had simply been lost to time, yet recent advances in ground-penetrating radar and geophysical mapping have reignited the mystery. In 2008, a Belgian-Egyptian expedition known as the Mataha Project conducted extensive underground scans at the Hawara site. What they found astonished them. Beneath the surface lay a massive grid-like pattern, stretching hundreds of meters in all directions, a geometric structure buried deep within the bedrock. The data suggested the presence of large chambers and intersecting corridors, just as Herodotus described over 2,000 years ago. Yet despite these findings, the Egyptian authorities quickly restricted further research. The official explanation was that the area needed to be protected from environmental damage, but the Mataha Project's team was ordered to suspend their work and seal the data, which has never been publicly released in full. Whispers began to circulate that what they had found beneath Hawara was not just a labyrinth, but something that challenged the very chronology of Egyptian history. Could the labyrinth have been a repository of knowledge, constructed not by the dynastic Egyptians, but by a much older civilization, one that predated the rise of the pharaohs? Herodotus himself hinted that the labyrinth was built by the 12 kings who ruled before the unification of Egypt, a time shrouded in myth and lost to history. Some researchers believe it could date back to the era known as Zep Tepi, the first time when divine beings were said to have ruled the land and bestowed sacred knowledge upon humanity. If the subterranean levels of the labyrinth were indeed real, they might contain more than tombs. Some theorists suggest that the complex was a library of stone, its walls engraved with the records of pre-dynastic civilizations, astronomical data, and perhaps even memories of a global catastrophe, the same flood that ended the last ice age. Ancient traditions across the world, from the Sumerian tablets to the Mayan Popol Vuh, speak of a deluge that destroyed a previous age of mankind. Could the labyrinth have been designed to preserve the wisdom of that lost era? What's even more compelling is the connection between the Hawara labyrinth and the Giza Plateau. Several researchers have proposed that a vast system of underground tunnels might link the two sites, forming an ancient network stretching for miles beneath the desert. If so, the Sphinx and the Great Pyramid could have served as surface markers, while the labyrinth functioned as the archive or vault, the heart of the system. Imagine what might lie sealed within those stone corridors. Tablets of forgotten languages, maps of pre-flood continents, models of star systems, or technologies that harnessed natural energies long before our modern understanding of physics. If such things exist, it would not only alter our understanding of Egypt, but redefine the story of humanity itself. To this day, the sands of Hawara remain undisturbed, the entrance to the labyrinth, if it exists, hidden beneath layers of silence and stone. The Egyptian government has declared the site off-limits to independent excavation, and the Mataha Project's findings remain locked away in archives, rarely discussed in public forums. But the whispers persist, and as new satellite technologies and magnetic sensors grow more precise, the buried geometry beneath Hawara may soon reveal itself again, this time to a world finally ready to listen. For if the labyrinth was indeed built to safeguard the wisdom of the first time, then what might that knowledge contain? And more importantly, who left it there for us to find? From the sands of Giza to the jungles of Central America, from the plains of China to the Andes of Peru, the ancient world seems to pulse with the same mysterious design. Across continents and oceans, megalithic monuments rise, pyramids, stone circles, temples, all aligned to the stars, all built with inexplicable precision. Could this pattern be coincidence, or is it evidence of a single, global intelligence that once spanned the Earth? Researchers have long noticed uncanny parallels among ancient structures. The Great Pyramid of Giza, the pyramids of Teotihuacan in Mexico, and the pyramids of China near Xi'an all share a near-identical base ratio and are oriented precisely to the cardinal directions. Even more astonishing, when these sites are plotted on a global map, they fall along specific geodesic alignments, lines that some claim form part of an ancient energy grid encircling the planet. This idea, known as the Earth Grid Theory, suggests that ancient civilizations deliberately placed their monuments at energetic nodes, where the Earth's electromagnetic field is strongest. These nodal points correspond with areas of unusual magnetic activity and natural resonance, locations that seem to hum with unseen power. In 1973, researcher Ivan T. Sanderson first proposed that the planet's vortex points, regions of anomalous energy such as the Bermuda Triangle, Easter Island and Giza, formed a geometric pattern known as the icosahedron. Later, scholars like Christopher Bird and Bruce Cathy expanded this model, mapping a network of intersecting energy lines that connect the world's most sacred and mysterious sites. When one traces these lines, the pattern becomes hauntingly clear. Giza, with its pyramids aligned to Orion's belt. Stonehenge, marking solstitial alignments in England. Machu Picchu, perched on a high Andean peak aligned with magnetic ley lines. Angkor Wat in Cambodia, designed as a mirror of the Draco constellation. And the Nazca lines of Peru, vast symbols etched into the desert, some say to signal the same sky gods venerated in ancient Egypt. It is as if every major ancient culture, separated by oceans and millennia, was following a single plan, one that transcended geography. Even more compelling are the mathematical correspondences between these sites. The latitude of the Great Pyramid, 29.9792 degrees north, mirrors the speed of light in meters per second, 299,792 kilometers per second, a correlation that seems impossible to dismiss as chance. The angles of the Pyramid of the Sun at Teotihuacan correspond exactly to those of Giza, and both encode the mathematical constant pi in their proportions. How could ancient builders on different continents have achieved this without communication or technology? Some researchers suggest that they did communicate, not through writing or travel, but through knowledge encoded in geometry and frequency. Ancient temples, they argue, were designed as resonators, structures that amplified the Earth's natural vibrations. At Giza, cavities beneath the plateau may have channeled groundwater, generating low-frequency sound waves that interacted with the pyramid's architecture. In Peru and Mexico, underground tunnels and acoustic chambers produce similar phenomena. This shared understanding of harmonic resonance suggests that the ancients perceived the Earth not as a passive sphere, but as a living organism, pulsating with energy that could be harnessed for spiritual or technological purposes. In the Vedic tradition, this concept was known as prana. In China, it was qi. In the West, it was the ether. The pyramids, temples, and stone circles may have functioned as tuning forks, instruments of balance between heaven and earth. And yet what we call ancient may have roots that reach even further back, to a civilization before civilization, one that mapped the planet according to these invisible harmonics. Could it be that Egypt's labyrinth, Giza's tunnels, and the Sphinx's hidden chambers were part of this global network? A communication system built not with wires, but with stone, geometry, and resonance. Satellite imaging of Earth's surface has revealed additional anomalies that deepen the mystery. Beneath the sands of the Sahara lie outlines of buried structures arranged in geometric patterns. In South America, LiDAR has uncovered entire cities aligned with star maps. Even in Antarctica, beneath the ice, radar has detected rectangular formations at precise intervals, as though the blueprint extends even to the most desolate corners of the world, and all of these alignments seem to converge, astonishingly, near Giza. The Great Pyramid sits almost exactly at the intersection of the Earth's longest lines of latitude and longitude, the theoretical centre of all landmass. To the ancients, it was the navel of the world, the point from which all measurements began. If Giza was the hub of this network, then perhaps the labyrinth beneath Hawara was its archive, and the Sphinx, its guardian. Together they form the triad of an ancient system designed to preserve knowledge, harness energy, and perhaps even communicate across the globe. Could these ancient sites be remnants of a forgotten age when humanity's understanding of the planet was far beyond what we imagine? A time when geometry, sound, and stone were the languages of science, and the earth itself was the instrument? The deeper we look, the clearer the pattern becomes. The monuments are not random, they are connected, as if they are the visible nodes of a network that still hums beneath the surface of our modern world. And perhaps somewhere deep under Giza's bedrock lies the central conduit, a buried memory of that ancient grid, waiting to be rediscovered. As the desert wind sweeps over the Giza plateau, the Great Pyramid stands immovable, its four faces once polished to mirror the sky. For millennia, it has reflected the dance of stars, its geometry harmonizing with the movements of celestial bodies. Yet the deeper researchers study its design, the more it appears that the Great Pyramid was not merely a monument of stone, but an instrument of time, engineered to mark the cycles of the cosmos. The ancient Egyptians saw time not as linear, but as cyclical, the eternal rhythm of creation, destruction, and rebirth. Their myth spoke of Zep Tepi, the first time, a golden age when gods and humans coexisted, and knowledge flowed freely between the earth and the heavens. To them, the heavens were not distant, they were a reflection of the world below. As above, so below, they believed, a phrase that became the cornerstone of Hermetic philosophy thousands of years later. Modern researchers have found that this celestial principle is carved directly into the architecture of Giza. The three pyramids align perfectly with the three stars of Orion's belt, Alnitak, Alnilam, and Mintaka, forming a mirror image of the constellation as it appeared around 10,500 BCE. During that same epoch, the Milky Way arched over Giza, matching the course of the Nile below, as though heaven and earth were deliberately united in stone. This correlation, proposed by Robert Bauval and supported by Graham Hancock, suggests that the builders encoded the date of 10,500 BCE into the layout of the Giza complex. But why that date? What was so important about that moment in time? Around 10,500 BCE, the Earth was emerging from the last ice age, a period of cataclysmic flooding and environmental upheaval known as the Younger Dryas event. Ancient myths from across the world, from the Egyptian flood of Nun to the Sumerian deluge of Utnapishtim, all point to a great disaster that reshaped civilization. Could the pyramids have been designed to commemorate this rebirth, the dawn of a new precessional age? The precession of the equinoxes, caused by the slow wobble of the Earth's axis, spans approximately 25,920 years, a cycle often referred to as the Great Year. The ancients seem to understand this cosmic rhythm, dividing the Great Year into 12 segments of roughly 2,160 years each. They recognized the precession of zodiacal ages, Leo, Taurus, Aquarius, each marking the rise and fall of epochs. The Great Sphinx facing east aligns with the constellation Leo as it rose on the horizon around 10,500 BCE, the same date encoded in the Orion alignment of the pyramids. This is more than coincidence. It is as if the Sphinx and pyramids together form a celestial calendar, marking the end of one age and the beginning of another. The age of Leo, symbolizing the rebirth of civilization after the cataclysmic floods. When viewed from above, the layout of Giza appears as a precise astrological diagram, frozen in stone. The shafts of the Great Pyramid, often dismissed as ventilation tunnels, point not randomly, but toward specific stars, Orion, Sirius, and Thuban, representing the celestial gateways of resurrection and eternal life. These shafts acted as conduits, linking the soul of the pharaoh, or perhaps of humanity itself, to the immortal heavens. But could it be that these alignments were not just symbolic, but scientific? Some researchers propose that the ancient builders possessed advanced astronomical knowledge far beyond their supposed era. The precision with which the pyramids track celestial movements suggests they understood axial precession, something mainstream science claims wasn't identified until the Greek astronomer Hipparchus discovered it in 130 BCE. How then did the Egyptians know of precession thousands of years earlier, either through generations of meticulous observation or through inherited knowledge from a civilization that had already mastered the stars? Across the world, the same pattern emerges. The Maya built temples that tracked solstices and equinoxes with uncanny precision, culminating in the long count calendar, which spans thousands of years and mirrors the precessional cycle. In India, the ancient Vedic texts speak of the yugas, vast ages of time that rise and fall like cosmic tides. The parallels are striking. Different continents, different languages, but the same comprehension of celestial cycles and the same reverence for the heavens as the true measure of eternity. Could it be that the ancients understood not only astronomy, but the energetic influence of celestial bodies on Earth? The orientation of the pyramids may have served a purpose beyond worship, perhaps to synchronize the planet's resonance with that of the stars. Some physicists have noted that the pyramid's proportions resonate with both the frequency of the Earth's Schumann resonance and the harmonic ratios found in sound and light waves. In essence, the Great Pyramid may have been built as a harmonic bridge, a stabilizer between heaven and earth, between the microcosm and the macrocosm. If this is true, then the Great Pyramid and Sphinx were not relics of death, but monuments of rebirth, reminders that civilizations, like stars, rise, fall, and are born again. Perhaps the builders encoded this cosmic message for us, a map written in stone, urging future generations to remember the rhythm of the heavens. For just as the stars shift their positions across the sky, so too do the ages of humanity turn. And as we stand now at the dawn of a new processional cycle, we must ask ourselves, are we too approaching the end of one world and the beginning of another? Imagine the world not as it is today, but as it was 12,000 years ago, a planet in turmoil. Massive ice sheets covering Europe and North America begin to melt in a sudden and violent shift. Ocean levels rise by hundreds of feet. Great floods sweep across continents, swallowing valleys, cities and coastlines that once teemed with life. It is the end of the last ice age, the Younger Dryas, a catastrophe so profound that it reshaped the face of civilization forever. This was not merely a slow warming, it was a cosmic event. Geologists studying sediment cores and ancient meltwater deposits have uncovered evidence of a massive comet or asteroid impact around 10,800 BCE, a theory first proposed by Dr. Richard Firestone and others. The impact is thought to have triggered wildfires across the globe, melted glaciers almost instantaneously, and plunged the world back into a brief but devastating freeze. For decades, this idea was dismissed as fringe speculation, until satellite imaging, ice core analysis, and impact proxies like nanodiamonds and platinum layers began to confirm its eerie plausibility. The Younger Dryas boundary is now recognized as one of the most sudden and catastrophic transitions in Earth's history. Entire ecosystems vanished, and with them, perhaps, an entire human civilization. Ancient myths echo this memory. In Mesopotamia, Utnapishtim survives a deluge sent by the gods to cleanse the earth. In Egypt, the god Atum rises from the primeval waters of chaos to recreate the world anew. Across the Americas, tribes speak of fire from the sky and floods that drown the old people of the earth. Even Plato, writing in 360 BCE, recounts a story passed to him through Egyptian priests, the fall of Atlantis, a great civilization that perished in a single day and night of misfortune. But what if these were not mere myths? What if the pyramids were built as monuments of remembrance, physical records of that lost world's knowledge, geometry, and warning? Many researchers have noticed something peculiar about the Great Pyramid's dimensions. Its base perimeter, when divided by twice its height, yields a number remarkably close to pi. The pyramid's slope also encodes phi, the golden ratio. Its position on Earth corresponds almost exactly with the geographical centre of the planet's landmass. These facts suggest not just artistry, but mathematical intent, a message written in universal language, one that could outlast flood, fire, and time itself. Some theorists propose that the builders, whoever they truly were, anticipated global cataclysm. They knew that oral traditions, languages, and even continents could vanish, but geometry, proportions, and stone would endure. The pyramid, in this view, becomes a time capsule, not for a pharaoh's body, but for humanity's memory. If this theory holds weight, then the placement of Giza becomes even more intriguing. Around the world, similar monuments appear, megaliths, temples, and alignments that date far earlier than mainstream archaeology admits. From Göbekli Tepe in Turkey to the megalithic temples of Malta, from Tiwanaku in Bolivia to Nan Madol in Micronesia, each shares certain motifs: astronomical precision, cyclopean masonry, and encoded references to celestial cycles. It is as though they all stemmed from a single mother culture, one that understood the rhythms of the heavens and the destructive potential of the cosmos. When viewed through this lens, the Great Pyramid becomes part of a global legacy of warning, a monumental signal from the survivors of a vanished world, a civilization that perhaps foresaw the end of their own age and chose to pass forward what they could not preserve in words. Even the Sphinx appears to support this notion. Geological studies by Dr. Robert Schoch have shown deep vertical erosion on the Sphinx's body, patterns caused not by wind and sand, but by heavy rainfall, suggesting that the monument is thousands of years older than Egypt's desert climate. If true, this would place its creation closer to 10,000 BCE, precisely the era of the post-cataclysmic world. Could it be that the Sphinx was once a guardian of knowledge, a sentinel watching over the last remnants of pre-flood wisdom? Its lion's body and human face symbolize the unity of physical strength and divine intellect, attributes necessary to rebuild a shattered world. And as the climate stabilized, new dynasties emerged, inheriting fragments of that forgotten science. The Egyptians, Sumerians, and early Vedic peoples all spoke of receiving knowledge from the gods, beings who descended after the floods to restore order and teach mankind the arts of writing, agriculture, and architecture. Perhaps these gods were the survivors of an earlier civilization, their deeds mythologized across millennia. If the pyramids indeed commemorate a lost world, then their alignment with the stars of Orion, a constellation linked to the god Osiris, symbol of death and rebirth, gains even deeper significance. The Great Pyramid, then, is not only a cosmic timekeeper, but also a memorial, a monument to resurrection, both cosmic and human. It whispers to the ages that civilizations fall, yet knowledge endures, buried, waiting, beneath the sand. The question, then, is not whether the ancients remembered a catastrophe, but what they wanted us to learn from it. As the radar and lidar scans beneath Giza reveal new voids and sealed chambers, we may soon uncover inscriptions or artifacts that confirm this ancient warning. Perhaps these chambers were sealed precisely to await a future epoch, a time when humanity would once again reach the brink and need to remember the lessons of the past. Could that time be now? Beneath the Giza plateau, ancient tunnels stretch like veins through the bedrock, a subterranean labyrinth that few have seen and fewer still truly understand. The ancient texts speak of it, the myths hint at it, and modern technology is beginning to confirm what legend has whispered for centuries, that beneath the pyramids lies a hidden archive, a library of knowledge sealed away from the surface world, the fabled Hall of Records. The first hints came not from myth, but from modern science. In 2017, an international team of researchers known as the Scan Pyramids Project used advanced muon tomography, a technique that detects cosmic particles passing through stone, to peer inside the Great Pyramid. What they discovered sent ripples through the archaeological world. A vast, previously unknown chamber above the Grand Gallery, roughly 30 meters long and completely sealed. Its purpose remains unknown. For some, this void represents nothing more than a structural anomaly, an ancient attempt to relieve pressure from the immense weight of stone. But others suspect something more deliberate. The chamber's location, precision, and acoustic resonance suggest that it might not be empty at all, that it could contain relics or mechanisms long hidden from view. Meanwhile, deep ground-penetrating radar and infrared imaging across the Giza plateau have revealed tunnels, cavities, and water channels running beneath the pyramids and the Sphinx. Some of these tunnels connect to natural limestone caverns, others to carved passageways extending for hundreds of meters. Egyptian workers and explorers in the 19th century often reported entering shafts that led to rooms filled with inscriptions, sarcophagi, and sealed doors. Most of these have since been closed off, officially for safety, but some researchers believe they were sealed to protect something far more significant. The myth of the Hall of Records first gained modern attention through the readings of Edgar Cayce, the American clairvoyant known as the Sleeping Prophet. In the 1930s, Cayce claimed that a secret chamber lay buried between the Sphinx's paws, containing records of an advanced civilization that existed before the Great Flood, a civilization he identified with Atlantis. According to his predictions, this chamber would be discovered when the time was right, near the end of the 20th century, as humanity approached another great transition. For decades, Casey's claims were dismissed as mystical speculation, until the late 1990s, when seismic surveys conducted by the Florida State University Geological Team, in collaboration with the Schweikers Foundation and Egypt's own Antiquities Authority, detected an anomalous cavity precisely where Casey had described, beneath the Sphinx's right paw. The discovery caused international debate. Egypt's leading archaeologist, Dr. Zahi Hawass, denied that any such chamber existed, arguing that the cavity was a natural fissure. But footage and reports from the team indicated symmetrical walls and rectangular outlines, hardly natural formations. What lay inside, if anything, remains a state secret. The chamber was sealed and never excavated. Why such secrecy? If the Hall of Records is merely myth, why do these anomalies align so precisely with ancient legends? And why are they consistently found near the very monuments associated with rebirth and cosmic cycles? The Book of the Dead, the pyramid texts and the coffin texts, Egypt's oldest religious writings, speak repeatedly of hidden chambers beneath the house of Osiris, where the wisdom of the first time was preserved by the gods. The first time, or Zep Tepi, refers to that golden age after the floods, when divine beings restored order. According to the texts, Thoth, the god of wisdom and writing, sealed the knowledge of creation beneath the sacred mountain, to be rediscovered by those who could read the stars. Some Egyptologists interpret this as metaphor. But when the metaphors are supported by literal architecture, the line between myth and record begins to blur. Consider this. Many of the underground tunnels beneath Giza are flooded with water that seems to flow from a natural aquifer system beneath the plateau. Ancient texts describe the pyramids as islands of eternity rising above the waters of chaos. Could the builders have intentionally used this water network, not just symbolically, but functionally, as part of a hydraulic or energetic system? If so, the subterranean halls may have served as more than storage. They may have been part of the pyramid's mechanism itself, humming with sound, resonance, and flow. In 2010, a team from Cairo University's Faculty of Engineering confirmed the presence of acoustic anomalies beneath the Sphinx, vibrations consistent with hollow spaces. Combined with radar data, this strongly suggests a multi-level system of tunnels and chambers connecting the Sphinx to the pyramid complex. Some researchers propose that these passages were built to house archives carved in stone, their geometry preserving language in a form immune to decay. Others suggest crystal or metallic artifacts encoded with data, technology far beyond our understanding, left behind by an advanced progenitor culture. And yet, perhaps the most haunting possibility is the simplest, that the Hall of Records is not merely a place, but a message, a concept encoded in myth, architecture, and mathematics. A living archive that reveals itself only to those who can interpret its language of light, proportion, and sound. Could it be that the Great Pyramid, the Sphinx, and the labyrinth beneath them are all parts of a single system, a machine of memory designed to awaken when humanity is ready to remember? If so, then the sands of Egypt are not merely hiding relics, they are guarding a revelation. And perhaps, as our technology peers deeper into the earth with each passing year, the vaults beneath Giza are preparing to speak once more. Deep below the Great Pyramid, the air grows colder. The limestone walls drip with the moisture of an underground river that has flowed since the dawn of time. In the dim glow of a lamp, ancient carvings shimmer faintly. Not hieroglyphs of worship, but lines and grids, etched with geometric precision. What if these are not decorations, but blueprints? What if the pyramids were not built merely as tombs, but as machines, intricate structures designed to channel, store, or amplify the Earth's energy? Over the past 2 decades, a quiet revolution has been taking place in the field of archaeoacoustics, the study of sound within ancient structures. Teams led by researchers like Dr. Paul Devereaux and John Stuart Reid have found that the King's Chamber of the Great Pyramid resonates at a frequency of roughly 432 Hz, a tone long associated with harmony, healing, and cosmic resonance. This frequency, when struck or chanted, seems to activate standing waves within the granite walls themselves. Granite, as it turns out, is rich in quartz crystal, a material known to generate an electric charge when subjected to vibrational pressure, a phenomenon called the piezoelectric effect. Could it be that the pyramid's inner chambers were designed not only for ritual, but to generate or store energy. The positioning of the subterranean chamber, the mysterious well shaft, and the water channels beneath suggest that liquid movement might have created vibrational harmonics throughout the structure, a kind of geosonic reactor. In 2018, ground-penetrating radar revealed metallic anomalies beneath the pyramid's lowest layers, reflective materials unlike the surrounding limestone. Egyptian authorities dismissed them as natural mineral deposits, but independent geophysicists pointed out that the shapes were rectangular and evenly spaced, almost like plates or circuits. Were these remnants of ancient machinery, or merely the echoes of imagination in the data? To understand why such theories persist, we must return to the very foundation of Giza's design. The Great Pyramid's dimensions correspond not only to mathematical constants, but also to planetary measurements. Its height multiplied by 43,200 equals the Earth's polar radius. Its base perimeter multiplied by the same number equals the planet's circumference at the equator. How could builders from 2500 BCE have known the exact curvature of the Earth, unless they inherited that knowledge from a civilization with global awareness? Even more strikingly, the Great Pyramid's placement along the 31st parallel, aligned almost perfectly to true north with an accuracy unmatched until modern times, suggests an understanding of magnetism and Earth's axial rotation. Some researchers now propose that the pyramid functioned as a geodetic marker, its structure harmonized to the Earth's natural electromagnetic grid. Could the metallic anomalies below it, then, represent components of a once-living system, a power network, perhaps tapping into the movement of underground water and the Earth's magnetic field? The idea might sound fantastical, but experiments by engineers such as Christopher Dunn, author of the Giza power plant, show how the pyramid's inner architecture could form a resonant power source. Dunn's theory suggests that the subterranean chamber acted as a tuning cavity, where the movement of water beneath the plateau generated vibrations that travelled upward through the pyramid's granite chambers. These vibrations, interacting with quartz, could have produced a piezoelectric charge. The structure itself, then, was a giant harmonic generator, one capable of producing power through sound. Mainstream Egyptologists reject this view entirely. Yet, the evidence of resonant architecture and the precision of its geometry cannot be ignored. Even Zahi Hawass, during early excavations beneath the plateau, acknowledged that the acoustic properties of certain chambers were unlike anything in known Egyptian architecture. If resonance was part of the pyramid's function, it may not have been for technology in our modern sense, but for communication, perhaps even across time. Sound, after all, is vibration, and vibration is information. Could the chambers beneath Giza have been engineered to store data not as text or image, but as frequency, energy patterns encoded in the very structure of stone? Some theorists go further still, suggesting that the so-called metallic anomalies are remnants of a crystalline or superconductive network, possibly used to stabilize or modulate Earth's magnetic field. Ancient depictions of Ankh symbols, sometimes shown emitting waves, might not represent life merely in a spiritual sense, but energy in motion, life as vibration. Recent satellite data adds another layer of intrigue. Infrared thermal scans show hotspots on the pyramid's northern and eastern faces, indicating temperature variations that cannot be explained by simple solar heating. These could be due to airflow through hidden shafts, or, some suggest, residual heat from a still active process within the pyramid itself. Meanwhile, sealed beneath meters of limestone, radar scans point to voids and metallic signatures arranged in geometric symmetry. If these were part of a machine, what was it designed to do? To preserve knowledge, generate energy, or perhaps to maintain a connection between the Earth and the cosmos? Across the ancient world we find similar constructions. The step pyramids of Teotihuacan, aligned to the Pleiades, the ziggurats of Mesopotamia, each crowned with a temple to the heavens, the stone chambers of Malta and Sardinia, tuned to acoustic frequencies that mirror the resonance of the Great Pyramid. Could these all be fragments of a lost science, a shared technology once used to harmonize human consciousness with the planet's energy field? If so, then the Hall of Records might not contain scrolls or relics at all, but rather resonant architecture, designed to awaken memory within those who enter. The pyramid, in this vision, becomes a living instrument, one that can be played by sound, intention, and awareness, a library not of words, but of vibration. As we uncover the tunnels, the metallic chambers, and the strange echoes that hum beneath Giza, one truth becomes impossible to ignore. The ancients may have understood the Earth's heartbeat better than we do, and perhaps the Great Pyramid was their way of keeping that heartbeat alive, a pulse of stone and sound that still resonates today, waiting for us to remember its song. Under the blazing Egyptian sun, the Great Sphinx stares eternally toward the east, its gaze fixed on the horizon where the sun rises in the constellation of Leo, the lion. With its feline body and human face, the Sphinx bridges two worlds, animal and divine, earth and sky. Yet beneath this colossal guardian, radar and seismic surveys reveal something even more extraordinary: the unmistakable presence of tunnels, voids, and chambers cut deep into the limestone bedrock, hidden for millennia beneath the desert floor. The idea that the Sphinx conceals a subterranean world is not new. Ancient Egyptian inscriptions refer to the Sphinx as Sheshep Ankh, meaning living image, and associate it with Ruti, the twin lion gods who guarded the horizon, the liminal boundary between the living and the dead. The pyramid texts describe a gateway of the god, buried under the sacred mountain, through which the divine kings passed to reach the stars. To the ancient mind, the Sphinx was not merely sculpture, it was a threshold. In 1926, the French engineer Émile Barrys, tasked with restoring the Sphinx, discovered a sealed shaft near its hindquarters, leading downward into a chamber. The entrance was promptly closed off after exploration, reportedly for stability concerns. But what Barrys described, a rectangular chamber containing stone boxes and what appeared to be hieroglyphic carvings, has fueled speculation ever since. Half a century later, in the 1990s, seismic soundings conducted by the Florida State University Geological Survey, under the guidance of geophysicist Dr. Thomas DeBecke and Egyptologist Dr. Mark Lehner, detected clear rectangular cavities beneath the Sphinx's right paw, one of them measuring roughly 9 by 12 meters. These anomalies, buried 15 to 20 feet below the surface, were consistent with man-made structures. When combined with radar data showing tunnels connecting the Sphinx area to the Great Pyramid, the picture that emerged was staggering. An entire subterranean complex linking the monuments of Giza into a single architectural network. Egyptian authorities, however, quickly intervened. Access to the Sphinx enclosure was restricted. Hawass publicly dismissed the findings as natural fissures. Yet researchers who reviewed the seismic charts disagreed. The patterns were too uniform, the angles too precise. To this day, those chambers remain unexcavated. But why would the ancient builders carve a massive statue above an entrance to the underworld? In the cosmology of ancient Egypt, the Sphinx symbolized the sun's rebirth at dawn, the eternal return of light from the darkness of night. Its eastward gaze aligns with the point where the sun rose 10,500 years ago in the constellation Leo, the same era encoded in the Orion alignment of the pyramids. This means the Sphinx was likely designed to commemorate, or even originate from, that pre-dynastic epoch, long before the time of Khafra, the pharaoh to whom it is traditionally attributed. If the Sphinx indeed predates dynastic Egypt, its role changes entirely. It becomes not a monument of power, but a guardian of memory, placed to protect what lies beneath. Ancient texts from later periods speak of the halls beneath the lion, where the records of the first time were preserved. These writings, often attributed to the followers of Thoth, the god of wisdom, describe secret chambers containing vessels of metal that sing when touched, and lights that never die. Were these metaphors for sacred knowledge, or literal descriptions of lost technology? The tunnels beneath the Sphinx appear to run westward, toward the Pyramid of Khafra, and southward toward hidden cavities under the plateau. Early explorers such as Auguste Mariette and Selim Hassan reported entering passages leading beneath the Giza necropolis, some wide enough to walk through, others flooded with water from the natural aquifer below. Hassan's 1933 excavation uncovered an ancient stairway descending into the bedrock near the Sphinx temple, ending at a sealed stone door, one he was forbidden to open. His notes describe the sound of hollow echoing spaces beyond it. Decades later, as imaging technologies advanced, infrared thermography detected heat anomalies beneath the Sphinx's paws and flanks, suggesting airflow from subterranean voids. The implication is clear. beneath the Sphinx lies not one chamber, but a network. Could this be the entrance to the Hall of Records, or perhaps a far older complex, one whose memory inspired that legend in the first place? Egyptian mythology connects the Sphinx to the god Horem-Akhet, Horus in the horizon, a symbol of transition between worlds. In this role, the Sphinx stands as the gatekeeper of rebirth, both spiritual and perhaps civilizational. The tunnels beneath it may symbolize the passage through darkness, through cataclysm, into renewal, just as the sun is reborn each dawn. But if the Sphinx marks the entrance, what lies beyond? Some theorists propose that the tunnels lead to vast vaults of granite boxes, similar to those found in the Serapeum of Saqqara, massive sarcophagi carved from single blocks of granite, far too large and precise to serve any funerary purpose. Acoustic testing of these boxes has shown that they too resonate at 432 Hz, the same harmonic frequency found within the Great Pyramid. Could they be resonators, components of a system connecting the entire Giza complex through sound and vibration? Others believe the Sphinx's underground network served as a repository of global knowledge, connecting Egypt to other ancient sites across the planet through ley lines, magnetic fields, or even ancient trade routes long since erased. Perhaps it was part of a worldwide grid of sacred architecture designed to preserve not only history, but harmony. As the sands continue to shift, technology continues to probe deeper, and Egypt's desert holds its breath. One day, the doors beneath the Sphinx may finally open, and when they do, we may discover not only relics, but the fingerprints of a civilization that knew how to encode eternity in stone. Perhaps the Sphinx has always been watching, waiting, for us to remember what it was built to protect. And if the myths are true, when that hidden passageway is finally unsealed, the winds of the Giza Plateau whisper of eternity. The sands shift and flow like an ancient tide, uncovering fragments of a story far older than the pharaohs. A story of builders who understood the stars, the earth, and the hidden frequencies that pulse through both. For centuries their message has slept beneath stone and silence. But now, as modern science begins to peer beneath the pyramids and the Sphinx, a haunting realization is taking shape. The ancients may not have been merely remembering their past, they may have been warning the future. Imagine this. You stand at dawn before the Great Pyramid, the horizon still dark, the air cool and still. The stars of Orion's belt hover directly above, perfectly aligned with the three pyramids of Giza, as they were over 12,000 years ago, during the last great ice age. The coincidence is mathematically impossible, the alignment intentional, but why? Some scholars, like Robert Bauval and Graham Hancock, suggest that the Giza complex was constructed as a time marker, encoding the sky of 10,500 BCE, the end of a world-shattering cataclysm. Geological evidence now supports this timeline. At that very moment in prehistory, massive glacial floods, known as the Younger Dryas meltwater pulses, swept across the planet. Sea levels rose by more than 400 feet. Civilizations that might have thrived along coastlines vanished overnight. The survivors, whoever they were, would have watched their world drown. Could it be that the builders of the pyramids were survivors of that earlier world, an advanced culture whose knowledge outlived the cataclysm? If so, then the monuments of Egypt are not beginnings, but memorials. Each block of limestone, each alignment to the stars, each chamber tuned to a perfect harmonic frequency. All may represent a vast message across time carved in stone to outlast flood, fire, and forgetting. But the question remains, what were they trying to say? Let's return to the hidden voids beneath the Great Pyramid, the vast unexplored cavities revealed by Muon imaging and radar scans. These voids appear not random, but deliberate, aligned along energy channels that resonate with the structure itself. Acoustic analysis reveals that the Great Pyramid's King's Chamber vibrates at 440 Hz, while the Queen's Chamber resonates at 432 Hz, the same frequency that modern physicists associate with the harmonic vibration of the Earth's electromagnetic field. Was this coincidence? Or design? If the pyramid was constructed as an energy transducer, its purpose may have been not spiritual alone, but planetary, a stabilizer, a beacon, or even a safeguard. Ancient texts speak of the pillar of light, a device to preserve the balance of heaven and earth. Was this a poetic metaphor, or the memory of real technology long lost? It is said that those who approach the Great Pyramid with humility and wonder hear a low hum, a vibration that seems to come from the stone itself. Some dismiss it as the wind, others say it is the earth remembering. But perhaps it is something more, the echo of a forgotten science, one that recognized consciousness, matter and sound as threads of the same tapestry. If that is true, then the monuments of Egypt are not just relics. They are interfaces between past and future, between humanity and the cosmos. And so, as you drift into the quiet of night, imagine the sands parting, revealing not ruins, but a living archive, pulsing softly beneath the earth. The ancient architects, long vanished, whisper across millennia, "We were here before you. Learn from what we built. Preserve what you discover." Perhaps one day, when the hidden chambers are finally opened, we will find not gold or mummies, but a mirror, one reflecting the story of who we were, who we are, and who we might become again. Because history, like the Nile, flows in cycles, and beneath the pyramids of Giza, the oldest secrets of our species still wait, patient, silent, eternal.